It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Is it just me, or are there just way too many injuries in these NBA playoffs? Embiid is out, multiple injuries. Well, without him, Philly's not going to beat New York. Knicks win 108-102. Knicks are up 2-0. Philly couldn't score in the fourth quarter. Man, if they score 20 points, maybe they win the game. Maybe. They couldn't get to 20. So what are you going to do, right? I mean, the Lakers probably weren't going to beat the Thunder anyway, but they're sure not going to win without Luka Doncic. So this is where we are. The Spurs just absolutely thrashed Minnesota in Game 2, so that's 1-1 going back to Minnesota. So there's a little bit of the NBA basketball. We have a lot of NBA basketball coming up for you today. The draft lottery is coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. And we find out the Jazz could draft 1, they could draft 6 or 7. It's kind of a coin flip, top 5 versus 6, 7, 8. There's a little better chance they're in the top 5. I think it's like 52.5% they're top 5, 47.5% that they're 6, 7, 8. So we'll see how that plays out. Later this morning, we're going to talk a little NBA hoops this morning with Matt Babcock from Babcock Hoops coming up at 9 o'clock. Also later this hour, Nathan Grubel will join us, and you'll hear his take on how he thinks things will play out with the draft. He's with No Ceilings, and his take on the top players and how they'll shake out. Pretty interesting stuff. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, Mammoth head coach Andre Tourigny on what he thinks from this season and what he expects next year. His end-of-the-year wrap is next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Andre Tourigny, Utah Mammoth head coach, meeting with the media, going over his thoughts on the just-completed season. Here he is.
A few things I want to talk to you about the season. Obviously, there's a lot of pride in what we accomplished this year because we achieved our goal. We had, with the management and the coaches, objective from American Thanksgiving to Christmas to the Olympic break to the trade deadline and obviously making the playoff. We had objective, which we hit all of them, sometimes a little bit too tighter than we will have wished, but we hit all our objectives. So we were able to have the consistency we were looking for a few years, in the sense of that was important for us there were kind of two underlying objectives to extend our winning streak. If you win 4, 5 games in a row, you can extend that at 7. It makes a huge difference when you arrive at the end, and the reverse was true as well, making sure we stay away from losing 5, 6 in a row, which derail everything. So we were able to do that. The other objective we have, and it's a little bit there's two part of it, was to be better at protecting a lead, and we improved a lot during the season, going with a record of 29-2-2 when we were at the lead after 2. Unfortunately, did not stand in the playoff, and that's, again, something we want to look for. We had, like I said, during the season, good result. We were happy about the improvement we did in that sense, but when the pressure went higher, a certain habit we had, even in our 29 wins, we're protecting, got highlighted a little bit, and I think it will help us to really dig in deeper on those and making sure we keep getting better. So that's another thing we were happy about. Obviously, the adjustment the player and we made during the playoff against Vegas to cut their possession a little bit. I think and as well increase our possession, certain adjustment we did in the ozone to see how the guys apply it and how much impact that had in the game. That's something we're proud of. Obviously, I'm sure you will have question on that. The playoff learning, I think that's a big achievement for our group. I think there's a lot of young. I don't want to say young. It's not a question of age. It's a team who's young together in the playoff. That was our first time where we're going in the playoff together. It's not just 22 years old guy. It's 32 years old guy who were in the trenches with that group all together, and I think we learn a lot from each other, and we'll get much better because of it. There's a few guys who hit their career high. There's a few guys who really have bounce back years, so which we were really proud of that. Another thing we're really proud is more than I think that Bill always used the proof is in the pudding, but I think there's a lot of guys who choose to be in Utah. They made the decision because they like the environment, they like the ownership, they like everything, but they like to be here with the boys. I often say you cannot judge the happiness of a household by how great is the house. It's the people in it who make it special. You can have an humble place with great people who are super happy. And I think here that we have everything. We have a super house. We have unbelievable fans. We have great ownership. But we have as well unbelievable people in it who makes it really, really special and where the player likes to be. So from the commitment of Ryan and Ashley, from the management who do a really good job bringing the right guys in the mix, but as well from everybody, the staff, the players, everybody around who makes this place a place where the guys wants to be every day, and they sure is that. So that's something we're really proud of. And I would finish by saying I think we grew our relationship with our fans by making the playoff. It always helped, but even then during the season, the involvement of our player and how community upsets they were and how much more impact we have every day in the community here, I think that's something we're really proud of and we're looking forward to grow. So, Steve? Okay, good.
Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther, we've talked about their on-ice abilities, but how have they established their own identities in the locker room, and how have they grown their leadership skills this season?
I think the part they did, but they will even more, it's to be a leader, you need to be consistent. You cannot say to people to do certain thing when you don't do it every day. I don't care how great you are. At some point, if you hold people accountable, you need to do it first. I think those two guys got way more consistent, and I think that rubbed everybody the right way. I think everybody wants great player, but they want great player with the right attitude, the right competitiveness, the right mindset, the right commitment. And I think those two guys grew their consistency during the year, and I think that will have an impact greater in the future, and they will keep improving those things.
One of the big reasons to make the playoffs was so you would learn a lot about, going through that experience. So what are some of the things you learned that make you excited for the next step?
There's a big part of it is learning about your team. You know what I mean? There's learning the playoff, time and space, physicality, the ref, the crowd, those kind of, but you learn about your guy. I learned a lot about Kels and Schmaltzy. Even if I was with them for 5 years, the way they were capable of adjusting their game, and first of all, their reaction when they get in the game and the way they normally play was shut down. Their reaction and their urgency of right away finding solution. They didn't went in the panic mode of saying, well, we're screwed. No, they went right away. Okay, what different can we do? How can we find that space, and et cetera, et cetera. And they were right away in solution mode. In the playoff, we often say it's a long playoff. It's a long playoff, but it's really short. So they had to adjust right away. And right away in game 2, they start to find more possession, more little tip. And we work a lot with them to find those little dip, and from game 3, they were in. So now they have a better understanding of, okay, when people say you have no time, no space, or there's more pressure, okay, well, what do you do then? How you can react? What's your tools? I think those two guys did a really good example. I think Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunter, when really get out of the gate, exceptional, really good. Then they attract some attention, not just from you guys, but from the opponent, and they had to live with everything's coming with it, and the attention they got between whistle, after the whistle, and so on and so forth. That's huge learning from them. You know what I mean? It's you play in Seattle tonight, and tomorrow you're playing in Chicago. Even if you have 2 goals yesterday, it's not the same. Tomorrow you play against another team who, even if they know how good you are, they don't have the same urgency than the team you just did that to them. So I think in the best of 7, there's more detail in that sense, and I think going through that for them will be huge. And I can go on, and I think it gave us, as an organization, a really good read of what has to really be better. Can be roster-wise, can be coaching-wise, can be whatever the management may be, the message or whatever. But I think there's a lot of stuff where obviously it will not be public, but we all understand much better.
It was your first playoff experience as a head coach in the NHL. What did you learn, and also how does it compare to like CHL playoffs and international tournaments and that kind of stuff?
It's different than international tournament because for the same exactly what I just said. If you beat Finland in semifinal, you don't play them in final. So it's a different opponent. It's new all the time. It's high pressure. That's the same. The stake, the pressure, the stress, all of that's the same. Where it's you ask, it's different than junior. Is no, but a few level higher. You know, it's junior on steroid if you want, or it's junior at a high level in the sense of adjustment during the playoff, your matchup, the wear down of the opponent, everything. But I'm not saying it's the same in junior. It's 10 level higher, but is the same principle. Now, it's much better. It's much more detailed. Saying at a 17 years old guy, certain adjustment you have to do. Okay, you will go from here to here. Here, you go from here to here, in a sense. Certain adjust. If you look the first 2 games, we could not possess the puck in their zone one bit. We're one and done. Certain adjustment been made. The guys did it like that. It's not like they're pro. They're smart. They're skilled. They're attention to detail. They're focused, etc., etc. So you're capable of making way more adjustment, who has a huge impact in the game. So I think that was fun.
You mentioned your record at protecting leads in the regular season, obviously very good. What made that more difficult in the playoffs, and how did Vegas make that more difficult?
It's a really good question. Vegas had the lead yesterday, did they? What happened? Colorado, they're not too bad. They had a 3-goal lead, right? They end up trailing in that game. See, when you score 9, it's not that important, but it's not every night you score 9. So what does that tell you? It depends. Your eyes see something, my eyes see something else. It's tougher in the playoff. You know, Billy might correct me here, but last year the league gave us numbers, and the change of lead in the third period during the season, I think, was 42%, and in the playoff it went at 50%. There's more change lead in the third period in the playoff than in the regular season. Why? Well, the stake is higher. The opponent is better. You know, we're talking here the top 16 team in the league. The opponent is better. There's more pressure. That's exactly why my take of that is, okay, that's why you need to be even more detailed. You can hold the lead sometimes during the season, not because you did the right thing, just because you're either a good team or you get lucky or you got away with something or whatever the reason might be, but you cannot fall asleep because, okay, well, we won. We hold the lead. We won. Life is good. Next game. okay, you need to have a short-term memory, but you need to steer lesson of all of that, not just when you fell, not just the 2 times we lost. There's probably in the 29, there's probably, let's say, I will say 9 where was not a Picasso here. Maybe we should have make some adjustment or so on and so forth, or steer lesson. And I'm not saying we didn't. We're, I think, doing a pretty good job at staying even keel and making an analyze of what really happened, not just the final score, not just the scoreboard. The scoreboard, how many times I said to you, that lie a lot, that little thing up there. You know, that you just saw this, maybe the Game 7 between Tampa and Montreal. How many Game 7 you saw the losing team give 9 shots? I don't think it ever happened. You know what I mean? So John Madden was remind me they won a Game 7 where they give up 6, but they won it. When you lose it, giving only 9 shots, it's unbelievable. But that's why the scoreboards sometimes lie. So you need to focus on what you can control.
How would you assess how effective the power play was in the playoffs? And I guess what types of things do you want to see differently moving into the next season?
That's a really good question. You know, and I forgot to take a note on that, but they since February 1st, we had the best or the second best power play in the league. So I think we had kind of a 3 season this year. We had until then where was not the way we wanted. Then there's from February 1st to the playoff where we were elite, and there's the playoff. We're still working at answering your question exactly. What are exactly the trigger? It's easy to say, we need to be more direct. We need to put more pucks at the net, which is all true. We need to be a little bit better, much better in our loose puck recovery, much better in the net front. We make that all happen. And we take that extremely seriously. It's not just talking about it. We had a meeting today. We talk about it. We'll be in meeting all week. We'll talk about it, finding clear plan and clear solution. One thing we're taking a lot of pride as an organization in every area is when we assess a problem, we go at it and we fix it. And the players are outstanding at it. I think as a coaching staff, we take a lot of pride in that. If you look at our record in overtime at 3-on-3 last year, was in the negative this year where I don't remember the numbers, but I think we're 10-6, something like that. So we flip the script totally the other way. The power play it's one of the steps we talk about protecting lead. Power play has to be a huge contributor for us. And if you look at, there's a lot of things we look at. You look at Winnipeg last year, best power play in the league, right? They finished, 30th this year? You know, Tampa Bay was 6th last year. They finished even with us this year. So we finished 17, I think. I think they're 16 or something like that. So we want to see what's the difference in the power play of Tampa 2 years ago versus this year. What's the kicker here? Same thing for Winnipeg. What they did so good last year, which this year didn't do so good. Why did that happen? And doing, for sure, the first thing is us. We're looking at us, what we can do better, what should we have done better, what we have to learn. But as well, looking everywhere, taking our knowledge to everywhere else, and what makes a difference? You know, you look at Edmonton, it's a little bit the same situation. They went from here to here, and they're back on top, and all of that. We need to study that to make sure we don't have the simple answer. We need to shoot more pucks. We need to recover pucks. There's more layers than that, and we need to be spot on.
Kyler Yamamoto was kind of in and out of the lineup for the first half of the season, but seemed to find his stride down the stretch and into the playoffs. Where did you see his game develop over the course of the season?
You know, Yami he's a guy who he can trap you in the sense of if you look the sheet or you look his size, you will think a certain thing. But if I describe it to you and I say, this guy win every battle, this guy go to the net, this guy go in dirty area, this guy drive the net, this guy play really good defense, which number he has, you will never see 56, you know. But that's the truth. That's what he does. Even if he's not the biggest, if you look at the number of body check he had in the playoff, and more than that, we showed to the team in pregame guys bailing when Yami's coming. And I have the video. I can back up what I'm saying because he's going. You know, he can be whatever his size. He's not going for the bunt. He's going for the home run all the time. And I think he is an unbelievable kid, unbelievable teammate. I'm sure you did your due diligence, talk to everybody in the exit meeting. You don't want to hear boo against Yami. He's great. So he did a good job. I think he showed character. He, like you mentioned, I put him in the tough spot in and out of the lineup. First line, second line, fourth line, in the stand, fourth line, third line, first line, fourth line. He moved all year long. He was consistent, and I think he proved what he could do in the playoff, and really proud of him.
When you watched your team in the playoffs and seen what was developing and not developing, did you think to yourself, like, this is the style of player that we need to add during the offseason? There's something more that we can add?
His press conference is right after mine.
I was planning on asking him too.
I will talk to him not to you, if I have an answer to that, with all the respect. But it's obviously always those conversations. Okay, what could we have more? What we need more? Where we could have or should have or would have take advantage of certain thing. Well, on my side, the way I think, I will tell you, we had injury, and those guys were extremely important. If we will have had those guys, my job, I always say, and Bill will tell you the same, that's our guy. Well, perfect. That's my job. The solution is here, not on the other team. That's not my job. If at some point we have discussion every day saying, okay, cannot find a solution for that doesn't work, there's something doesn't work, and we're beating up solution over solution over solution. At some point, the big guys say, okay, I have a solution for you. And it could be Nick DeSimone a couple of years ago. It could be a trade, or sometimes it could be a subtraction, or it can be a lot of roster movement Bill and his group will do. But that's not my job. My job is those are the 23 we have, and we need to win with those 23, and that's my job.
Coach, it's been well documented that you enjoy looking to other coaches and managers in the game of hockey, but especially other sports and their philosophies to apply to their teams. Curious, as you evolve as a coach, what's one thing you learned about yourself this season?
People has a different perspective of me sometimes during the game. People think I'm quiet during the game. You might have a different perspective because you're close to me, but just say a little story. I had a mic at some point during the playoff, and we got the content after my wife was with me when I listened to this. You never talk during the game. I said, well, the player will say otherwise. So, I think I was this year learned, and I had a lot of communication with the player, and the player often talk about the calm behind the bench is really important. Hockey is a different sport than, let's say, basketball or other sports where coach are, like I often say, hockey is the only sport the coach is behind the bench. That's where you belong. All the other sports, the coach is in front of the player. They're active, they're this and that. In hockey, it's such a fast game. The guys have to think at a million things in a split second. They don't need me to be behind and yelling and pressing and stuff like that. So I think it's still something I have more to go, but I need to be much better at creating that environment behind the bench where I'm a little bit less intense and emotional, which that's part of my personality. I have a boiling blood a little bit, but I need to be a little bit better. So I learned this year by being better at that, how much positive impact that on the team. And where I was the most composed, it's in the playoff. Because I was really prepared and I was really calm and composed. And I think it helped a lot the team. I think it helped. We said a lot of time in the playoff how much we were even keel. I think it started by me doing my job and being more composed. And I think I learned a lot about that this year. There's always a bunch of things you learn on leadership and how to manage. I work a lot through the years of empowering the leadership and making sure they take charge and making sure it's not just having leadership meetings, having them the responsibility to do certain things. And there's a progression on that. I think we made a huge step this year. I think it's something, I will not say it's something I learned about myself or I got better at, but it's a step I was eager our team to take. And they took a really great step. I think we're really proud of our leadership group.
Coach, we heard a lot of players on Sunday say they know where they stand with you. You're an open coach. They also said you're the coach that's going to come in there and chat with them during breakfast.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to have both of those, the professional, honest coach and a player relationship?
For me, it's everything. We grew up in a different era where if you lose the game the next day, you were walking in and you were trying to get between the paint and the wall, nobody sees you, and try to get in your stall, try to not getting yelled at. It's not like that anymore. That created an environment where there's stress, the guys are not happy, they don't want to be here. When I talked earlier about how proud we are the environment we have here, for me, the players know exactly where they stand with me. When I'm not happy, they know I'm not happy. I get in that breakfast room and I'm chirping them and having fun with them and talking about their kids or their haircut that looks like mine or whatever it is. I have no problem and we have fun. But at 10, when the meetings start, now it's not it's not the guy who was in the lunchroom. Now it's the player who yesterday did not do what he had to do. And I will not be rude, but I will be black and white. That's your job. And that's what the expectation. And here everybody has to do what they are expected to do. We're the luckiest people on earth to do that sport, to be in the professional sport, to have that kind of facility, to be really, really well taken care of, to have 20,000 people who cheer for us every night, to have millions of people watching our game. Our responsibility is to deliver every day. That's our job. There is no feeling in that. So there's a few phrases I often use. Rules has no feeling. Expectation has no feeling. That's what it is. Did you do it or you didn't do it? You didn't do it. But it's not about yelling and having feeling. It's a matter of fact. That's what it is, And I think there's one set of rules. That's what it is. So the player know exactly where they stand. But they know exactly after that meeting, when I told him he didn't do his job, we're walking in the gym and I keep chirping him on something else and he's chirping me, and that's different. Now the player, we had that chat in the room, it's clean, it's done. He knows I'm not mad at him. As a hockey player, okay, you have a job to do. I'm not mad at you. It's just that's your job. That's your job and that's my job. So everybody do their job, we're fine. Then we go in the gym and we enjoy ourselves. We have fun. We don't have to be miserable. It's not because we lost 6-2 yesterday. We have to be miserable all day today. That won't help tomorrow. Yesterday is yesterday. Today we clean up what we have to do. Let's get to work and let's get excited about tomorrow. We have a hell of a game tomorrow, and I'm trusting you learn and we'll be better together. And that's all. And in that room as well, I will say, when I screw up, that's the first thing I do in the morning. I talk about what I screwed up. Sometimes it's a comment, sometimes something I did during the game or whatever. I start by some accountability, say, okay, that was my mistake, that was my bad, that's on me, I need to be better. So make that clear for everyone. So after I say what I have to say, but for me it's really important you don't attack the integrity. It's not dumb, you're lazy, no, it's not that. It's on display. That's the expectation. That's what you have to do, right? That's perfect. Me and everybody in that room expect you to do that. So if you're in that same situation, we expect the same thing. That's the expectation. Make it clear for everybody. Everybody know where we stand. But I'm not mad at you. We'll get out of that room at one point, and we'll laugh. We'll have fun.
Coach, I know you could probably go down the list, but who were the player or players that most positively surprised you this season?
Okay, I understand really clearly your question, but I don't want to say they surprised me because I have a high expectation for all of them. As much as I'm demanding for everyone, I like my player, and Bill can give you a testimony of that. I think that's part of. I believe in them, and I know what they can do. So I won't say I'm surprised, but I'm really happy for them the way they perform. Nick Schmaltz will be one, obviously. John Marino will be another one, where I think he had a. I say to Johnny all the time how great his potential is. You know, his read of the game, his brain, he knows before the play happen what will happen. I really enjoyed this guy and the player he is. So I'm happy he had, I won't say a breakout year, but he had his best production since he's in the league, and he always been good. So he's been good again this year, but he had, I really think he took another step, one of the best in the league, and plus and minus and stuff like that. Yami will be another one where it's not the best season of his career because he already scored 20 goals before, but you know, he went through some adversity, and I put him through adversity this year the way I use him as well, and he prevailed in what he did in the playoff. Really proud of him. Really proud for him. I think need to talk about Veggie as well in the sense of, hey, we ask a lot. He played a lot of minutes, and I think he was capable of a good level of consistency and helping us to reach our primary goal. So proud of that. I don't know who else. Nick DeSimone will be another one. I'm really proud of him because he's been put in the, again, we had 8 defensemen to start the season. He started as a number 8, and he climbed the ladder, and every time we use him, he was effective, helped the team. You know, it's a tough spot when you're in and out the lineup and stuff like that, and I think he did a really good job on that. And I probably forget too many guys, but that's good call. Lawson Krause. Come on, that's Bear. That should have been on my list. That's what I told him when I met him is, what a man. Some of you here, you need to write a book on that season on him. Seriously, the way he took ownership of his performance last year and did not look for any excuses, did not want the pity of anybody, and really took charge and had urgency every day. And wherever we put him, he made everybody better. Played in the third line, was the best third line in the league, was leading the league in expected goal, playing the second line, get the second line going, get the first line going. Everywhere he went, he was not even playing PK anymore last year. I don't know if you remember that, but from the halfway the season, was not even playing PK. This year was first unit of PK. And even when Kerfy came back from injury, even Kerfy said, "We cannot take that guy out. I will play in the second unit." You know, I mean, that's in a hockey team, that is not rare. That's more than rare. You know what I mean? It's never happened where kind of a situation like that happened. So for sure, Lawson Krause, the guy I'm really proud of.
There's Utah Mammoth head coach Andre Tourigny. Now, a reminder to join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, Monday. They're going to be at RGS Exteriors at 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Nathan Grubel talking NBA draft. He's from No Ceilings NBA. His thoughts on the top players in this draft, the order they'll go, who might move up, who might move down. That's next. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Right now, it is time for us to talk NBA playoff basketball and NBA draft lottery. We're joined right now by Nathan Grubel from No Ceilings NBA, covering the NBA and the NBA draft. Nathan, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing, everyone? It's a fabulous day, best time of the year, NBA playoffs, the draft lotteries right around the corner on Mother's Day. A lot going on. I'm excited.
There are a lot of moms who are Jazz fans who want the Jazz to get the number one pick. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Jazz would take A.J. DeBonsa with the top pick. We'll find out if they throw us a curveball. Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that everybody would take A.J. DeBonsa with the number one pick? Or is there a club out there that would go in a different direction?
So I do think at this point I would be stunned if A.J. did not go number one overall in the draft, with really any team picking in that spot, primarily because of just what he offers you in terms of a safety net, right? A 6'9" jumbo wing, can create off the dribble, can hit jump shots over anybody, has the ability to, along with being coached up, defend multiple positions. The passing really improved. He can play out of the mid post, can post up mismatches. Really a lot of the things that we're seeing come to light in playoff basketball in terms of being able to attack someone off the dribble one-on-one, take advantage of mismatches, get the ball to where it needs to go in terms of kickouts if defenses rotate over double. AJ is capable of doing all of those things on offense with the ball in his hands, and it's why he's been projected to have this superstar ceiling that he does. So there's a lot of talented prospects at the top. I don't think the top four prospects have been fully solidified yet in terms of order and where we think they're going to go. But I do think at number one, I think A.J. DeBonsa is probably the safest pick anyone can make at the top.
Yeah, I like how you choose the word safest. I'm wondering what you think the gap is. You go back a couple years, when Bayama to number two, it was overwhelming. And I think that guys showed a little bit more than maybe we expected, particularly Knipple, but there was no doubt that Cooper Flagg was the guy. And so you wouldn't say, well, Cooper Flagg is the safest. You wouldn't say Bayama is the safest, but you chose that word, and I believe you used that word on purpose. So the point would lead to a question, the gap between DeBonsa and the other guys.
I'm glad you called me out on that, because that's a great talking point to be able to discuss with some of these other players. I mean, listen, at the top of my personal draft board from the start of this cycle in the preseason to where we're at now, I have not moved Cameron Boozer off of that spot at number one on my board from Duke, the 6'9" forward. He's the most accomplished and decorated domestic prospect that we've seen in a long, long time. There isn't a player who has a resume comparable to his, including this year in college, pre-draft, since what Luka Doncic did overseas about 7-8 years ago. So this is a rarefied prospect who checks so many different boxes on the offensive end. You can utilize him in any blend of actions that you want to. He can be an on-ball facilitator. He can be a screener. He can be a roller, short roll playmaker. You can spot him up behind the three-point line, has a great catch and shoot, 40% three-point jump shot ready to go. He can be an interior post-up threat who draws a double team, and he has arguably the best passing instincts and passing placement versatility of any of these top prospects that we can discuss in this class. The difference between someone like an AJ versus someone like Cam, you do have some of those athletic concerns with Cam that show up on the defensive end. If he has to cover a lot of ground and really do a hard closeout on a shooter, he opens up those driving lanes where you can get by him. If you have to play Cam in a small ball five capacity rather than utilizing him as a bigger wing or a power forward, his more natural set of positions, he can get eaten up by some of those bigger fives and certainly some of what we would see in the NBA with 7-foot-plus guys. You can score over him in the post. So there are some defensive limitations to Cam's game, but it's not from a lack of understanding, a lack of mental processing, cerebral ability. His mind is his superpower, and then you layer in how skilled he is as a ball handler, ambidextrous, can finish with both hands, can pass with both hands. His footwork, he has such command over what he wants to do. And the best part about it is, like I said, because of his mind being a superpower, he can go 2 to 3 steps ahead of the defense and know what he wants to do before they even have time to react. So Cameron Boozer, for my money, has still been the number one player on my personal board But again, in my position, I'm not working for an NBA team. I'm only able to play as much armchair GM as I can, understanding full and well that the safest option for GMs at the top would be to take the guy in A.J. Dibonsa who has incredible upside in his own right.
The Jazz are tanking for a long time, so people have had a long time to study these draft boards. And the top three, you're right, the order has changed. You mentioned that and pointed that out. Even now it's not locked down. But the top three separated very early on, and that didn't change. Now, as the season went along, Caleb Wilson raised his stock. Darius Acuff Jr. raised his stock, and there are actually a lot of lead guard, point guard, ball handling guards who are in that next group and might just go 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm curious if you think Wilson can crack the top three, or does his three-point shooting limit him, or could Acuff crack the top three, or does the fact that he's 6'3" and seems to be a defensive liability going to limit him to being drafted 4, 5, 6?
I don't foresee a scenario in which Acuff would crack into that top three. I think his ceiling in terms of where he would be drafted likely falls around that 4 or 5 spot. Caleb Wilson is a different conversation. However, I would not rule out Caleb Wilson even being the second prospect off the board in this draft. We've already heard a lot of buzz, internally from different teams and scouts and sources about, Caleb Wilson being ranked as high as 2 or 3 on different boards within front offices. I buy that smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I buy it on this one. Caleb Wilson, incredibly talented, 6'9" forward, arguably the best athlete in this draft class. And a lot of his athleticism fueled those highlight reels and what casual fans might know about his game right now. But if you study more of his tape and what he was able to accomplish in North Carolina, you saw some skill emerging closer to what you would have seen in flashes at the high school level. You saw some of the footwork in the post, and being able to create his own shot on a fadeaway, being able to get to his own mid-range shot off the dribble. The passing ability from a standstill really popped in a lot of high-low actions with Henry Vasar at North Carolina. His versatility, the fact that he's only scratching the surface of how good he can be, to where if he rounds out some of these other areas, what he can do as a defensive playmaker, was a beast on the glass on both ends of the floor. If he gets that three-point shot to come around, all of a sudden we're talking about a more complete prospect than people wanted to give him credit for in that 6'9" forward athletic package, playing a position in an archetype that we're seeing become more and more important in playoff basketball, having 4 guys around one big who can all dribble, pass, shoot, create. We're seeing that from Caleb Wilson. I think because of that, being wrapped into that athletic package, I think teams could talk themselves into Caleb Wilson being higher and going higher than he's currently at 4 on a lot of consensus boards.
Speaking of Boozer and Dibonsa, three-point shooting is paramount in this league. I'm not sure both of those guys, that's their strongest skill set, although you can improve to a degree. What do you think about their ability to step out behind the line?
I think Boozer 100% is a much more ready-made and confident shooter from three-point range than AJ is right now. I mean, Cameron Boozer, going back to his high school days in these last 2 years of high school and then through this year at Duke, he's been a 38 to 40% three-point shooter off the catch. Has even gotten more comfortable with taking some of those three-point shots off the dribble. I trust Cam Boozer as a floor spacer, as a pick-and-pop guy, as a catch-and-shoot guy. Right now, that's been a weakness for A.J. Dibonsa, but what A.J. Dibonsa has that Cameron Boozer doesn't have right now is when you take that 1 to 2 step inside the arc and you're looking at more of those pull-up 2-point contested jumpers, A.J. has that in his game right now. He can get those shots off whenever he wants. We didn't see a lot of mid-range versatility from Cameron Boozer at Duke. We saw more of it at the high school level. There's plenty of clips that you can find of Cameron Boozer getting into mid-range pull-ups when he was about 10 to 15 pounds lighter in high school. And I think that in order for Cam to maximize the rest of that skill set and really tie everything together from a star perspective, he's going to have to figure out how to get into those shots easier at the NBA level. Might require him, dropping a little bit of the weight that he put on in order to get a little bit more flexible, a little bit more comfortable getting into those pull-up shots. But I'd say that's a key advantage for AJ right now, even though I have Cam as the more trustworthy spot-up shooter from three-point range.
So we've talked about the top 5, and basically where the Jazz landed, it's a coin flip. It is just slightly better odds they'll draft top 5 than draft 6, 7, 8. But there are a lot of Jazz fans who think they never catch a break. They're not going to catch a break now. The league's mad at them, and they're going to draft 6, 7, 8. It's doom and gloom for the Sunday draft lottery. It's bad mood for Mother's Day. If they draft 6, 7, 8, you've just listed 5 prospects. How confident are you those are the top 5? And who would the Jazz be looking at if they're drafting 6th or 7th? How did those guys sort themselves out? And do you have any idea which way the Jazz might be leaning in that group if that's where they end up?
I think if the Jazz are not able to land one of the top 4 prospects that we can discuss in Dibonsa, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson, that their next target should be Keaton Wagler out of Illinois. And the reason why I bring him up over someone like an Acuff or a Michael Brown or any one of these other point guards that we can talk about in this race, like a Kingston Flemings, I bring up Wagler, and I'll even throw Brayton Burries out of Arizona in the conversation as well. But Wagler in particular, from where he came from in terms of not being a consensus RSCI top 150 recruit to leading an Illinois team all the way to the Final Four, playing his best at the highest levels of competition and really not seeing any fall off in terms of his production in the regular season versus what he did in the postseason. We would expect a lot of these freshmen to play worse and overall have a worse resume in postseason play in the NCAA tournament rather than what they did in the regular season. You didn't see that fall off from Wagler. He's a 6'6" guard, so plus size at that position, can toggle between the 1 and the 2, is an awesome catch and shoot guy, has real range on his pull-up three-point shot. That's an NBA-ready move for him to be able to go to. Tremendous footwork when he's navigating ball screens, getting through traffic, can find guys on the move as a legitimate live dribble passer. He has such a well-refined game that can fit with another backcourt option. I think with the Utah Jazz, there's going to be other questions they have to ask and answer on around other parts of their roster based on the Jaren Jackson acquisition. You know, what does that mean for that 3 spot? Is it Lowry Markkanen? Do they maybe move off of him to bring other assets back? Is that Ace's spot? Do they want to play Ace at shooting guard? There's a lot of other places where there's questions about on this roster. But one thing I thought the Jazz really figured out was Keontae George operating as the point guard. And in my opinion, he didn't even have his best weapon available to him this year in terms of efficiency, which is what I know him for, that pull-up three-point shot. He expanded and grew his game in so many other areas that are actually dependent upon him playing that point guard position, like attacking the basket, getting to the rim, having a free throw rate that's considerably higher than any other point in his career, you know, continuing to grow since he came into the NBA as a passer. I think this team is best with him operating at that point guard position. And so you want someone next to him who is a little bit bigger, who ideally in time can cover multiple positions or cover the other backcourt spot that you wouldn't want Keontae covering. So I look for someone like a Keaton Wagler or a Brayton Burries if the Jazz fell out of that top 4, top 5 group.
We saw a kid last year, Yegor Dillman from Russia, come over and obviously played at BYU and now is with Brooklyn. And the idea is to get your so-called feet wet, to use that expression, in the college game and then go on to the NBA. With NIL, you know, are you going to see that more often? Are we going to see foreign kids look to get a season under their belt in the college game, knowing that they can make some money, and then go on to the NBA? You think that's going to be a trend?
That's absolutely a trend. And I do think it's a great thing for, you know, NBA-based scouts to be able to see these kids, you know, in domestic leagues, in college here versus, you know, overseas, where they're constantly having to travel and have to evaluate the leagues that these guys are playing in, whether it's a junior league or maybe they're not getting as much time. It's more limited time in a senior league overseas, you know, trying to evaluate these different landscapes of they're playing this group of players. How do I evaluate them in this setting versus, you know, NBA scouts have figured out pretty well how to evaluate players in the college setting. And so having them over here is a major benefit to NBA front offices and scouting departments. Well, it's also a benefit for those players because they're able to not only earn more money through an NIL deal than they're likely getting, you know, in one of these overseas markets, but they're also getting the playing time like I was talking about, right? These more senior teams, these A-League teams over whether it's Spain or Turkey or whatever other league you want to point to overseas, they're not always giving these young players time on the court. You're seeing some of these prospects average like 10, 12, 14 minutes per game, not playing a lot. Whereas in college, teams are building and making them a focal point in their systems, playing these players 25, 30, 35 minutes a night, sometimes even the more extreme 38 to 40 minutes a night. So they're getting more exposure, they're getting more money, and you're making it easier overall to level the playing field and make sure that the NBA scouts and talent evaluators have the best possible setting to evaluate these players in. So I think it's a win for all parties.
Nathan Grubel joining us, covers the NBA and the NBA draft for No Ceilings NBA. As the playoffs continue here, you looking at the Thunder thinking they are going to repeat, which it's been a little less than a decade since that's happened, or you got your eye on somebody else to take them down?
So my preseason NBA Finals pick was the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks matching up. And I see no reason right now to move off of that pick. When we talk about who's the favorite to actually win the championship, I would agree. I think OKC is the clear-cut dog above everyone else. And you see what they did to the Lakers last night. This is without Jalen Williams in the lineup. They're essentially playing two guards with SGA and AJ Mitchell, and they still have the versatility on defense to pressure the ball, to force players into bad shots, to make life really difficult, force turnovers, and capitalize on that transition play to get into some early offense, to set up easy buckets. And then when things do come down to crunch time in that half-court setting, you have who is the best half-court scorer right now in the game, and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to deliver at home. So I think the OKC Thunder are a clear-cut above everyone else, and I really appreciate the opportunity because of Jalen Williams being out. They're going to need him to come back. They're going to need him for these later rounds for the conference finals and for the finals. But as of right now against this Lakers team, AJ Mitchell's getting some great experience in that starting shooting guard spot, and you're seeing a lot of offensive opportunities open up because you have two primary ball handlers next to each other in SGA and Mitchell. I think he's getting a lot of great experience right now. You still have guys like, Casey Wallace and Caruso and McCain able to come off the bench. That two big lineup with a lot of this guard versatility, the on-ball pressure defensively, it's overwhelming, and it's just a lot for other teams to deal with. So I would expect OKC, as of right now, to still be the favorite and to hoist up that trophy when it's all said and done.
For the team who drafts Darren Peterson, how much work is going to have to be done off the court versus on the court?
So I'm not of the mindset that Darren Peterson has any off-court issues at all when it comes to his work ethic, his drive, his demeanor, his willingness, and that competitive spirit to improve and get better. I'm not concerned about any of that with Darren. Obviously, there's medical questions that have lingered and are still lingering that will have to be answered. I will not be privy to that information because I do not work for an NBA team. I may hear some things through the grapevine, but as of right now, my evaluation for Darren has to be what I've seen on the court and comparing that to where he was at in high school versus where he is at now. And who Darren is as a plus size 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard, awesome athleticism when he's healthy, the ability to get to his shot whenever he wants, ridiculous efficient shooter on incredibly high volume at Kansas, which matches what he was able to do at the high school level. My biggest concern for Darren stems on the court in terms of his on-ball playmaking ability. When he's involved in a lot of these ball screen actions in high school, he had that burst, that extra step because he was fully healthy. He didn't have any of these lingering issues to where he could always get by that defender at the top in that ball screen action. He'd take that wide angle and he'd be able to score, or he'd have a much easier passing lane to be able to look through to thread that needle to get the ball where it needed to go next. We were not able to see him create that same level of separation in Kansas this year in college. And so a lot of that diminished his playmaking value and his ability to pressure the rim severely. It turned him into primarily a jump shooter, which, again, he excelled at. He scored at high volume. He scored on ridiculous efficiency. That's not the problem. But in order to play a more ball-dominant role at the next level, it's not just about what you can get for yourself. It's about how you see and map the court, what you can get for everyone else. So because of that limit that I've seen from him right now in those ball screen actions, if that doesn't change, then you're comparing him more to a secondary wing versus a primary creator. And for that reason, it's why, I've been back and forth on where to have Darren on my personal board. Do I have him at 3? Do I maybe even have him at 4 and have Caleb Wilson ahead of him because of where I feel the position of value is with those other guys versus if this is who Darren is, can I find that somewhere else? Can I replicate that value somewhere else? So I think the on-court, on-ball playmaking aspect and the rim pressure, those are the biggest questions that need answers in order to properly identify Darren's upside moving forward.
Nathan, we appreciate all the NBA info. That's a deep drive into the draft there. We appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Enjoy the draft lottery, and let's see where these teams get to pick, because that'll help us sort out where everybody's going.
I appreciate you both for having me. Let's do this again soon.
There's Nathan Grubel from No Ceilings NBA. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Foul line, step back, 20-footer, got it! Mikal Bridges, a step back jumper over Oubre, and the Knicks on a 9-0 run have a 6-point lead.
Wembanyama left wing 3. Wee rattles that one home. 17 for Victor, 93-58. 10 threes on the night here for San Antonio.
I'm just doing everything I can, like I said. Every day I'm doing stuff I'm supposed to do. Obviously recovering now, working. Like I said, doctor said 8 weeks at the beginning of the first MRI. So, I'm just going day by day, and I feel better every day.
There's Luka Doncic, the Lakers star, talking about how frustrating it is. Doctor told him 8 weeks, so doesn't look like we'll be seeing him in the playoffs, PK. The Lakers down 1-0 against the Thunder. Looking at Game 2 coming up tonight, and it doesn't look very good for them.
Oh, no.
Yes, imagine the anguish of Jazz fans everywhere that the Lakers might get knocked out of the playoffs. Spurs beat the Timberwolves 133-95. How'd you like that for a bounce-back game? A dominating 38-point win to tie the series at a game apiece.
Oh, I saw the score early, and that was it. I didn't check in on that, but
that
to
was
me,
enough for you.
That would be the Minnesota felt comfortable that they got what they wanted, which was the split. You always want to get 2, man. That's a bunch of talk. They needed to get 1, and then Anthony Edwards talking about loud as hell in Minnesota and all that. They were already looking ahead, which they should. It wasn't working for them, so be it. I mean, I don't think they were thinking they were going to sweep the Spurs.
That was a 24-point game at halftime when everybody had the chance to check out of that. And the Knicks beat Philly. Embiid doesn't go. Multiple injuries. Knicks win 108-102. Sixers look good for 3 quarters, but they only managed 12 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. They barely scored at all in the last 6 minutes of the game.
The last 6 minutes, they had 10 shots. 8 of them were threes, and they bricked all 3. Meanwhile, when it was 99-99 and the score with 6 minutes to go obviously is tied there, Brunson makes a 2-pointer, he makes another 2-pointer, and Bridges makes a 2-pointer. This is horrible basketball. It's boring. It's not worth watching. It's a lousy product when they do this, and it's just disgusting. If I were a Sixers fan, I would be irate. 10 shots, and one of them was a maxi layup that they conceded, basically, and the other 8 out of 9 were bricked threes. And the Knicks go and shoot 3 twos and make them. And there you go. 108 to 102. Let's see. That's 2, 4, 6. 108 minus 102 is 6. Whoever says you have to take threes is ridiculous. That's horrible, boring basketball.
The guy who was taking twos at the end of the game was Paul George. He was settling, I thought he settled for contested mid-range jumpers, and he missed 3 of them. One of them, he definitely shouldn't have taken the shot.
Not at the end of the game.
He also went to the hoop one
not at
time
the last,
and didn't hit the rim.
Not at the last
in the fourth
6 minutes. Not in the last 6 minutes.
In the fourth quarter. Right. He stopped shooting because he wasn't coming close.
Well, he did shoot. He shot twice at the end there. I've looked at the stats.
There was one terrible one from the it was desperation from the near side for 3. I remember that one. I don't remember the other one. I'm sure he took it. He ended up 7 of 18 shooting the ball.
Well, they ended up 0 of 8 shooting the ball.
Yeah. Well, you're tired at the end of the game. Threes don't go in, but they'd been shooting them well early in the game, so you're right. They just kept firing them up. They actually outshot the Knicks from the three-point line, 38% to 27%, but it didn't help them with the game on the line. Nothing helped them with the game on the line. And the Knicks tried to help them. The Knicks, they were turning the ball over left and right and getting trapped up against the half-court line and pretty basic stuff, but they got away with it because then Philly would go down and fire it up at the other end and miss. So, didn't cover themselves in glory in that fourth quarter with the Knicks outscoring Philly 19-12. It was a mess. But the Knicks are now up 2-0. Other game tonight, Cavs and Pistons at 5 before that Lakers-Thunder game at 7:30. They're both on Amazon Prime Video tonight. Celtic star Jaylen Brown said he hopes to remain with the franchise long-term, despite comments that Tracy McGrady made recently saying that Brown has a frustration that lies deeply within the Boston organization. Brad Stevens downplayed it as well, so we'll see what the future holds for the Celtics. Plenty of speculation that Brown could be on the move. Giannis Antetokounmpo's speculation continues. Jimmy Haslam, co-owner of the Bucks, says, I just think before the draft is a natural time because if Giannis does play somewhere else, we've got to have a lot of assets. That's the GM's job to do, and if he's here, then you build the team differently. So, been talking about it for like 3 years now. Maybe they'll finally do something with Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
New York City, the Jets, how did that go? Your visit out there?
It's great. They offered me, and I'm trying to figure out what's the next best thing to do and all that. And just, I still know I can play ball and do that at a high level, but also, I think that, the opportunity to do TV too is great. So we'll see what happens.
37-year-old Russell Wilson, does he go to the Jets to back up Geno Smith? Does he go take a TV opportunity just referenced, or does he do something else? He's out there trying to sort that out. We've seen this before, PK. Pretty hard to give up the game, right? It is so fabulous. You get to play for one more year. If it's a backup, should you do it? Should you just walk away and get on to the next thing because inevitably that's coming?
Yeah, I don't see him playing much. I don't think he can play at a high level anymore. He's fallen off the cliff probably 3-4 years ago, just that he hasn't realized it. When I first saw that headline, I thought, Zach Wilson's going into TV? It took me a second because I saw Wilson Jets.
It says Wilson Jets. Yeah, I get it, yeah. Whoa, hey, cool.
I thought, I got to look at this one. What's this about? And then I kind of laughed to myself, you fool, it's Russell Wilson, which would not make sense. He's far more of an accomplished quarterback to have TV want him. So that was kind of funny.
Patriots quarterback Drake May called Mike Vrabel a great human being and said he doesn't believe the coach's off-field issues will be a distraction for the defending AFC champs this fall. TMZ keeps coming out with stories. They're going to keep talking about it.
I don't know why. I mean, they cheated, and they're unique to that. I mean, it's not appropriate. We understand that.
But it's also not a new story.
It's
an old story.
We're going to go down the line of everybody who cheated now?
No, just these two.
I don't understand the fascination. I don't approve of it. I don't dismiss it. But they got caught.
At the same time, why why is TMZ still presumably paying for photos and putting it out there? Which
I've been to Sedona. It's a very romantic place. I've been there many times.
Sedona. Can you beat the heat in Sedona? How much cooler is Sedona?
Yeah.
It's
good cooler. I mean, it's warm everywhere in the summer around I don't know of a place that isn't, San Francisco maybe, and some of the places in the Northwest. But if you're comparing it to the Phoenix heat, yes, it is definitely cooler.
Go up there and get 102 instead of 112 or something. Go to Slide Rock.
I've been there many times, and they have an outdoor little amphitheater. I've been up there to see concerts. There's a time when now it's been a while since I've been there, but there's a time coming not too distant future that I intend to be there again.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Pages swings, hits a drive to left, and this ball is gone. A 3-home run day for Andy Pages. It is 12-2.
Bases loaded, 2 down, bottom of the 10th inning. The atmosphere is incredible. And the pitch on the way. Inside, Cubs win the ball game. The Cubs have won another one. Listen to this crowd.
Cubs fans loving it. A walk-off walk, PK. Bases loaded in the 10th. They walk it off against Cincinnati for the 3rd straight game. And loving it.
Yes, they are.
Framber Valdez, 5-game suspension for intentionally throwing at Boston Red Sox shortstop Trevor Story earlier this week. The bench is cleared. The manager, A.J. Hinch, banned for a game. Look at baseball drawing a line in the sand. That was intentional. Sit down for a while. Miss a start, or at least push it back.
Banned for a game? It's a little strong.
Yeah. Suspended, banned.
Shoeless Joe Jackson was banned. He was suspended for a game. Angels and White Sox combined for 3 bases-loaded walks. The first time that's happened 3 times in the same game in at least 70 years. Angels win 8-2. We went out to the ballpark and we saw a bunch of bases-loaded walks. All right.
Hey, it's a way to get
Not
a
quite
rib.
the excitement they had at Wrigley Field where, you do get the RBI. A little more excitement in the Cubbies game than the White Sox game, but they won 18-21, so I guess you got to expect that. Paul Skeens had it going, 8 shutout innings, just 2 hits for the Diamondbacks, and Pittsburgh gets 1 run, and that's enough in a 1-0 victory. Paul Skeens coming off that Cy Young Award. How's it going?
Yeah, and then I watched all 8 innings, and that was, it wasn't a dominant performance. What I'm getting at is he just didn't okay, here, guys, I'm just going to throw it by you. It was a dominant pitching performance, which I think is more important. That he didn't have a lot of strikeouts. He wasn't just blowing people away with just a fastball that is a blur. And I think that is encouraging because there are times when you can't do that, but you've got to pitch. You've got to move the ball. You've got to locate it. You've got to change speeds and all that stuff. We know what that's all about. And he really did that. It was an excellent pitched game by Skeens, not just being probably, when he's growing up. I think he went to a Southern California kid. I think he went to the same high school as Nolan Arenado in Orange County. And, he probably just smoking everybody. And he went to Air Force and then over to LSU. But this was an impressive pitching performance by him. And they took him out after the 8th inning. And the 2 hits, it was really, one was just a little nubber that could have been scored in error. But they gave it a hit, and then Arenado came up. I was watching it, and then he got a legitimate hit, so that took any doubt away. But that was a great performance by him.
Would you rather see a well-pitched game by somebody who's crafty as opposed to somebody where it's all strikeouts and walks, and it's just fastball, fastball, fastball?
I want to see. I want to see great pitching.
Put in play.
It was great pitching. It was sensational. That's stuff that you can build on and use. for years to come. Even as you get a little older, and maybe the velocity isn't as dominant as it once was when you were in your early 20s. I mean, if you know how to pitch, obviously the poster child for that is Greg Maddux.
The Bees lose to Oklahoma City 12-7. They'll play again tonight, 5:35. Tony Parks will be on the air. Listen on 1280 The Zone. DJ and PK.
#golf.
PGA Tour has a pair of events this week with the Truist Championship and Myrtle Beach Championship. Tony Finau is in the Truist. Patrick Fishburne and Zach Blair are in the field at Myrtle Beach. 2 events the same week. I wonder if this is what we're going to see more of, PK, as they limit the number of weeks they play. I would think they still have to provide some opportunities for the rest of the tour to play. I guess if they get rid of the limited field, that opens up a few more playing spots for guys, but they're going to have to figure that out somehow.
Yeah, I just listened to Rory. He's talking about how Poppy just thinks it's her birthright there to eat cheese sandwiches at the Masters. The more stories of his daughter Poppy, the better.
The better you feel?
Yeah. And he's talking about
DJ and PK.
Talking about Jack Nicklaus giving him advice. It's a pretty cool story.
#NHL.
Here's Byram right up the middle with a shot. Scores! Bo Byram bangs it home with 10:59 remaining in the second period, and the Buffalo Sabres are up 4-1 in Game 1.
A loose puck right there for Jeffrey Viel, who guns it into the empty net.
That's actually going to be Jansen
Harkins. I beg your pardon. So he'll get a goal in his first Stanley Cup playoff game, and the Ducks have a 3-0 lead with 3.5 to go.
Ducks beat the Vegas Golden Knights in Las Vegas 3-1, so that series is tied at a game apiece. And former Mammoth Josh Doan with the opening goal and then assisting on the second goal as the Sabres beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-2 in their series opener. Tonight, Carolina and Philly. Carolina's up 2-0. Philadelphia at home trying to stay in the series and avoid that 3-0 hold. That game's on TNT at 6 o'clock. And the NHL salary cap goes to $104 million next year. That's an $8.5 million increase. Salary floor will be $77 million, and the max you can pay a player is $20.8. So now Bill Armstrong knows what he has to work with, PK, is that cap gets reset, and like everything else, this seems to be going up. 104.
Yeah, we'll see what he does there. You mentioned TNT. I want to pay a little homage to the passing of Ted Turner, one of the originals in the sports world. Now, he also had another bunch of stuff. CNN, when they played it straight, he was a pioneer in a sense, starting the Super Station and all that. Saw Dale Murphy making videos talking about him and put out a statement about what Ted Turner. I mean, he was somewhat eccentric, but he also was a revolutionary in a way.
Without question, he was on the cutting edge, and he was eccentric. Everybody had stories about him yesterday, and kicking the clubhouse door on the way out, and breaking a toe, and hobbling in the next day. And one night he decided to manage the team. They shut that down. There's a rule you can't own and manage. So that got shut down after one game, but he did that. Launched TBS and then TNT. Definitely revolutionized the way we watch sports in the 80s.
Yeah.
He was on the cutting edge of that for sure.
Right.
He was a sailor for a while, got way into the America's Cup, and he was launched the Goodwill Games. Remember those, PK? The alternative to the Olympics, when the Olympics were getting boycotted twice in 8 years.
He had a wrestling promotion he ran
He
for
did
a
a
while.
lot of stuff.
Well, he did the wrestling, yeah. And I think they was in the same building as CNN.
It was.
It was like on the second floor, third floor.
Yeah.
It was above the newsroom.
The newsroom was on the first floor.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was kind of a Bill Veeck kind of guy in terms of trying stuff. Charlie O. Finley, those guys that were a little bit off the wall, always trying new stuff. But actually, he's known for some real good stuff, too.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Matt Tait covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports is going to join us at 8:30 as our college football spring tour continues. And Matt Babcock from the NBA, he's an NBA draft analyst for Babcock Hoops, will join us at 9 o'clock to talk about the draft with the lottery coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
Why is BYU not coming to Logan? It's great that they're playing BYU, but why is there no return trip? Getting this rivalry just on the books in some way, shape, or form is huge. For Utah State, they need quad one games. In the landscape of college basketball, it would not surprise me one bit if Utah State called up Kentucky or called up Kansas. And I wouldn't surprise me one bit if Kentucky's like, sure, hold please, click, Kansas, click. Because I don't think these teams are interested in building other teams' resumes, especially G5 resumes.
The bottom line is the power schools have always and definitely currently hold the cards. For BYU to work with Utah State and get 2 dates on the calendar in today's basketball world, I mean, it's definitely a win. It's a win for both. It's a win for the state. I wish last year they were on the schedule.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
This Mother's Day, give her more than just a gift. Give her comfort she'll feel every single day. Now enjoy special Mother's Day deals. 50% off any regularly priced blanket with the code ZONE50. Shop online at minkycouture.com or in the store. But remember that code, ZONE50, and save yourself 50% at Minky Couture this Mother's Day. PK, the question of the morning, looming large. What kind of a college football playoff do people want? 16? 24? Is 24 too many, or is that just about right? Vernon, it's too many. I think 16 is plenty to include all the conference champs and Notre Dame, should they be in, at least the top 10 and 5 at-large teams. There's no chance that format is hold. There is a 0% chance they're letting in all the conference champions. Not happening. There'll be more at-large teams.
Yeah, I don't think the
Brooks
AAC is going to have a guaranteed bid. So I agree with you there.
No. Yeah, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West both getting their champs in. Nope. Brooks says 16 would be good, but either way, the playoffs need to start the week after the regular season ends. You know, like every other sport. I think that's going to happen. Don't you feel like the momentum to get rid of these conference title games is really building? They're gonna try to figure out if they can get more money out of 8 playoff games than out of these conference title games, and I expect the answer to that is yes, they can.
Well, you ask yourself which one is more important. For the majority of them, it's going to be the playoff. It's not going to be the conference title game. Mm-hmm. And the expansion of the playoff has essentially killed the conference title game in the manner of, allowing black players, Jackie Robinson, breaking the color line. Well, what did that do? Ultimately, it caused the demise of the Negro Leagues, right? I mean, that's a much more serious thing there. But, you have that, and those things go away. So I think it's the same type of premise here. There's no need for that conference title game. So the things that matter more would be a playoff game. So if something matters more, then logic would dictate that it would cost more and you'd earn more money that way. So I've been on that bandwagon for years, that the conference title game, at least 2 years, once they expanded the playoff, it's like, well, what's the point of these things here? And I always thought it was silly anyway. What's the point of playing 9 games and then you got to play one more, and somehow that one more carries all the importance in the world? For basketball, I know they do it, but for teams that have a legitimate chance to advance, winning the conference tournament doesn't really matter. You're going to get in. I realize there's a slew of lower level, Big Sky, Big West type of conferences, that is the avenue to get in. But then there's a 95% chance that those teams lose the first game anyway. And that's fun for them. So I don't have any problem with it in basketball for those lower conferences to get that opportunity to get in there. And plus, it's more fun viewing. It's not like they would replace that with the NCAA tournament. So if we didn't have that, we may not have anything that week, and that would stink. I want viewing options. Whether I want to watch it or not, it's up to me. But I want the option. And one of the reasons why I don't want this thing to go to 24 is, what does it do to the bowls for the teams that aren't as good and they have that opportunity to play one more game? And the New Mexico States of the world, as I've told that story, covering New Mexico State, Utah State, and Tucson, and just see the sheer joy, literally the sheer joy in the eyes of the New Mexico State players when they won that game in overtime. I don't want to have that taken away from those kids. Those kids aren't probably going to have much of a chance to play in the NFL, and this is where they had an opportunity to play, and there's nothing wrong with that, going to New Mexico State and having an opportunity to play 4 more years of college football. I think is only a positive. It's not a negative. And then they got in the Tucson Bowl. I don't even remember I think it's just called the Arizona Bowl, whatever it was called. And I wouldn't want that taken away. And I would be concerned that if you expanded to 24, that for those kids who aren't going to make the playoff and really literally have virtually no chance to be in there, I don't want to deny them the opportunity. I don't want to deny the tennis players in Arkansas the opportunity to play tennis. And I saw Wichita State is going to eliminate men's and women's golf. I don't like that. I want all those kids to have those opportunities. Now, I'd prefer maybe they not go all over the world and bring in a lot of foreign kids and maybe look to have more American kids on those teams, but that's another story.
I don't think the bowl games – I think we'll definitely lose some bowl games, and no question some would go away. The way the L.A. Bowl went away and the game of Detroit went away, I think some of those bowl games will go away if it's expanded to 24. But I still think there'd be 24, 25, whatever bowl games because there's 80 bowl-eligible teams, and what are they going to do with those? And ESPN still gets a lot of viewers for them, and they won't have any playoff games to put on – December 28th, 29th, 27th, midweek. The playoffs would end up dominating those Saturday schedules, to be sure. And some bowl games would go away, to be sure. But I'd be surprised if there weren't still 20, 25 bowl games out there because there'll be teams, those bowl games that match 7 and 5 teams, those teams are still going to be available. The 8 and 4s, the 6 and 6s, the G5 teams. The thing that would kill the bowls, I think, that could really threaten them is if they end up one day doing a separate G5 playoff. That would really take the steam out of it because I think those are a lot of the teams. In a 2014 playoff, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are going to maybe get one team in, and they both figure to have, 4 or 5 bowl-eligible teams. So I think the New Mexico Bowls of the world, the Poinsettia Bowls, the Hawaii Bowls, that they'll still be teams for those games.
Okay, but great. But you just acknowledged that some would go away. And if you're on the Arkansas women's tennis team, you don't want to have it go away. And so the 27th and the 28th teams, I want those young men to have an opportunity to play ball. So it doesn't mean anything to you, I get it, but to them it would mean a lot.
Right, but the bowl games that would be going away are the ones that are replaced by the playoff games. I mean, there were just going from 12 to 24 could cost 6 bowls their matchups, and they'd go away. But those 12 teams would then be playing playoff games. So
Yeah,
that's an upgrade. It's not the absence of a.
That sounds
opportunity.
good, but
You
I
still
don't know
get a
that that's
game. You
true.
get a game that matters.
Yeah, but you just made up that theory. I mean, you don't necessarily know that it's true. I mean, I give you credit for making up it and making it and presenting it as if it's a fact. But I mean, you just told me other bowls have gone away, but somehow when the playoff starts, the same amount of people were participating. When we've lost bowls already, I'm not so sure.
Well, the LA Bowl got replaced by the Poinsettia Bowl. So, yes, a bowl went away and a new bowl came back. I think the Bahama Bowl went away, but they started a game in Puerto Rico. So, bowl games have been coming and going for a long time.
Well, I mean, this is not like the cycle of life here. For everybody who dies, there's somebody who's born. I don't know.
Sing it. It's a Disney film.
I don't know that.
It's ESPN. It might as well be a Disney film.
That's a circle of life. I did the cycle. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I hope you're right, but that's a concern, and that is still my concern, no matter how much you want to present a theory as fact.
Yeah. I think they're still going to need bowl games on the Tuesday and Wednesday between the quarters and the semis. So.
I hope so.
Ball.
Absolutely. That's my number one concern. I think 24 is too big. I don't want to see fourth-place teams in the conferences getting in. And it's just going to be more power teams.
You don't want to see Arizona and Houston.
It's not going to be Arizona and Houston. It's going to be SEC and
I looked
Big
at their rankings
10.
last year. Arizona and Houston would have been in off last year's rankings. I mean, they would have been there. Utah would have been in last year.
Well, then why have a committee? Then if it just structure it, then there's no voting on it. If you're guaranteeing me that those would have been in and not taking into account human voting, because we don't know how it's going to be set up. I mean, maybe you do. I don't.
Well, assuming that there's still a committee, this is how the committee ranked them last year at the in the final.
And how do we know that the committee would rank them that way if the pressure's on to get the SEC? There's a lot of assumption here that doesn't fly as fact. Either if it's not a fact, then it's not a fact. And there's no assumptions that are facts. They may become facts, but when they're assumptions, they're not facts. They become facts when they are facts. And I don't know that that's necessarily a fact because I don't know how they would have voted. I don't think that the two power conferences that the commissioners that decide this, the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't think they're doing it with man, we got to get Arizona and Houston in here. I just don't see it.
They would have found a way to take a team like Tennessee and get them in, who wasn't in the rankings but had a pretty good year.
And Notre Dame obviously would have been in.
Oh, Notre Dame would have been in for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the thing at 12, and this is where NIL, for all the people who are worried, well, with NIL, the big teams will have all the best players. Well, actually, the best players are moving around chasing money and playing time. And Miami got the last – I mean, they went in as the 10th team, and Tulane and James Madison, the last two, were conference champs, and so they had a rule to put those two in. So Miami gets in with, BYU, Notre Dame, Texas, all lobbying to some degree and upset or disappointed to some degree or another. And then Miami wins 3 games. I mean, there is more parity. And in a 4-team playoff, Miami would have never been in, but they won 3 games. And they gave Indiana their best playoff game. Of the 3 playoff games Indiana played, 2 of them were blowouts, but the Miami game was competitive. So.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any problem with Miami getting in. It's the teams that got left out, not the teams that got in. The teams that got in deserved to get in. There were just other teams deserved to get in, too. It's not one versus the other. That's why I'm fine with expanding it to 16. I think 24 is too much.
The other thing about saying that you're not a conference champ, don't get in, is like this has never been more bizarre. The leagues are so big, you only play half the league. Having a conference title game helps a little, but it still doesn't sort it out in all the situations. Had that funky 4-way tie 2 years ago. So, hey, you're not a conference champ. You're not in the top 12. I'm glad they're making this tournament bigger. I don't mind 24.
Yeah.
It's not, and the way, the problem is if I sit here and go, 24, it's got to be 24. The next thing you'd say is, are you going to watch all those first-round games? And the answer is, no, probably not. But a lot of people will watch all those first-round games. You know, certainly I'd watch the ones involving the teams that matter more to us. I mean, local teams we already watch every game, but, you know, all the Big 12 teams. Like you said, USC, who we used to follow close, we didn't. Did they get in a 16 or 24-team tournament? At 9-3, they would have been right on the bubble. And I'd watch them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not concerned about what you watch. I mean, I'm concerned about the level of competition and what it does to the regular season, how much it waters it down, because college football has a special regular season, and people get excited and get amped up for it, and it's a big deal. And if you should have one of the two game days, Fox or ESPN, come to your campus, you know, like last year before the A&M or the Texas Tech game, it was an earlier game, and the place was lit. I got there way early, walked around all over the place, just to experience it. And college football has a special regular season. I don't care about some TV ratings and what you're going to watch in December. I want to preserve something that has been very important to a lot of different people. And if you start expanding it, all you do is water that down. And you're going to have more guys sit out. And it's not going to mean near as much. And I'm not reflective of TV ratings. My TV career is over. I'm done with that. I had a good run, but now it's done. So be it. I'm fine with that. And I'm more concerned about other things. What college football has meant to me as a fan for all these years, and what I've seen at so many different places. Because, man, if I counted up all the college campuses I've been to on a Saturday, it would probably number over 50, and they've all been fun. And to have that be reduced and minimized by a 2014 playoff, yeah, I don't like it.
50, that is a huge number. I don't doubt you're right. Makes sense.
That's just off the top of my head, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time, obviously.
Yeah, but you've been to all of the, there were 12 Mountain West schools and 12 Pac-12 schools. So I know you got 24 off the top of your head.
Yeah.
And then you just blow through Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin, LSU. I can start thinking of these games off the top of my head.
Right.
You know, that you've been to.
Right. Notre Dame, Texas, blah, blah, blah.
TCU.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and I see what it means to people. And I see what it means to the folks here. To look at one of the great success stories is covering a Utah game in the 90s and then covering a Utah game in the 2020s. Now, the game is the game, but I'm just talking about walking around and talking to people. The scene is just super impressive, and I don't want to reduce that.
Yeah, I don't think you will.
I think the regular season gets watered down, man. The regular season gets. I don't see how the regular season doesn't get watered down. I don't see how you're thinking, well, I can sit one of these guys. If your quarterback is hurt and you're getting into November and you know you have just about a 90% chance of getting in the playoff, are you playing him? No, you're sitting him. Whereas, man, if you needed that game. Utah, staying on the Utah theme, there were several games in November over the years before they finally broke through. They needed those games. And that's why those games were huge. And they couldn't get it done. Then eventually they got it. Not necessarily eventually, but sooner they got it done. And it was a big, big freaking deal. Yeah. I don't want that to change. And then just the 1 year that they got in the opportunity, they needed 3 other things to happen. And that Saturday after Thanksgiving, it was immense. It's immense. I'm texting the coach. They play Colorado earlier in the day. I'm in a hotel in the Boulder area. They get on the plane, so they go home. And we're texting back and forth as we're watching late games. Now, if that ruins it right there. If they know they're in, where's the drama? Where's the excitement, the mystery? That's all gone at 24. And I'm not sure I want that. I'm not
diametrically 100% opposed to it because I'd have to see how it works. I'm sort of talking off the cuff here, thinking of downsides to this. Maybe there isn't, but in my mind, it's worth discussing. And I'm literally texting with the coach, going back and forth on plays that are happening in a game at 9:30, 10:30 at night. And I'm sitting there in a hotel, and he's probably at home. Or maybe he might be at the office, who knows. And I just concerned that stuff goes away because you'd already be in. What's the big deal?
Well, the big deal once you're in is do you get one of the buys so you're into the second game? Do you get a home game? Do you have to go on the road? There's still all kinds of things.
Oh,
Imagine
sure, but then last year you're telling me the teams who had the buys, they got beat. And now all of a sudden that's an advantage?
Yeah, well, when a bye means 21 days off, that's a disadvantage. Under this scenario, you're going to be playing every week.
So 14 is an advantage.
1 week off is different than being off. Look up Oregon when they had a bye until they played on like New Year's Day and got smoked. I mean, it was ridiculous how long they were off. It's forever.
So 14 is the magic number where it's acceptable, but 15, oh my gosh, you're screwed? That's what you're telling me. Come on.
We've seen teams negotiate a bye week in the regular season. We've seen it help. We've tracked coaches who have spectacular records when they get an extra week of preparation and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, if you're not playing in your conference championship game, you miss the first round. So from the end of the regular season until New Year's Day or New Year's Eve for a quarterfinal, yeah, that's a crazy setup. That's too long.
Sure, but that wouldn't be a setup here that way. It wouldn't be as long. It'd just be a week, right?
And I think then that's when the bye can become an advantage.
Yeah. Especially in those, and I'm sure you've tracked all those buys, their advantages. When Oregon played Chico State the week after the bye, I mean, you have no idea who they played. You just look at some raw numbers and you draw a conclusion as if it's a definitive, undisputed fact. I don't do that.
Isn't it great?
If for you it is, yeah. It gives you something
PK,
to do.
It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got more football coming up with Matt Tait, covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports. He's coming up at 8:30. Matt Babcock on the NBA draft. He's from Babcock Hoops. He'll be here at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
I'm surprised you think the Spurs are so unbeatable.
Well, I do think Victor Wembanyama is probably already the second best player in the NBA. Okay. I think he has made that huge jump. Steph Castle's been awesome. They seem to know exactly what their identity is. I don't know. Maybe I'm underselling Minnesota. Probably am. Be very curious how they handle Victor Wembanyama.
You're going to handle it with Rudolph.
Again, I would not have been excited about it otherwise. And I think Chris Finch is a good playoff coach. They'll have some things for San Antonio. I don't think this is going to be a 4-game series. Probably not even a 5-game series.
I don't know if there is another player in the NBA that I would pick if we were doing, fantasy draft stuff, and I had to play against Victor Wembanyama. I'd probably pick Rudy.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK. PK, it was 37 years ago today that Michael Jordan made that floating double-pumping shot over Craig Elo, a major chapter in the building of a legend. There are a lot of chapters in that story, to be sure. We watch a lot of sports trying to get those kind of moments, those kind of personalities, and that kind of magic. You just said you'd been to probably 50, number off the top of your head, but it sounds ballpark right to me, 50 college football campuses. How many moments are there? How many moments do you think we get in a year or in a decade or whatever time period you want that match up with that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? That moment where you remember, I remember that. And electric if you're watching live.
Do I have to be there or can I just be watching it?
No, on TV is good enough. You don't have to be at the game.
Yeah.
I think watching Rory finish the career slam and win the Masters, that was that kind of moment. He's a big personality in the history of the game, and we knew the story. For Jordan, it was a struggle he was a great scorer, but you got to win in the playoffs and you got to advance. And he was, getting 5 years deep in his career, so he needed to make that shot and win that series, and they did. Well, and Rory, he's going to have more chances, but man, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was awesome,
and he got it.
I think for Jordan, the fact that he won the 6 titles and became the ultimate legend, if that would have been the highlight, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. It still would have been a phenomenal play and a phenomenal shot.
but it was accentuated by what was to come. And so those were the early signs, right? And so with that in mind, sure, you can understand that. But, yeah, I mean, there are moments that stand out to me as a fan. Doug Flutie, I happened to be watching that. Was it against Miami, right? And the thing about it is, and I'm living in Phoenix at the time.
Against Miami.
And it was a rainy day. A rainy day in Phoenix. Not a rainy night in Georgia, a rainy day in Phoenix. And we don't get those many days that, where it rains the whole day. You just don't get that. A lot of it's the rain is those dust storms in the evening in the summer. They account for like 80% of the rainfall. So I remember watching the game because I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't go outside. It was raining that day, and I was watching that game. Kirk Gibson's one-legged home run will live in my mindset forever as far as that goes. I mean, that was just an incredible moment. Kurt Gibson, former receiver at Michigan State. I don't know if I was watching. I think I was watching the Jordan thing, but I've seen it so many times. It's like the Daniel R. Ainge play against Notre Dame. I feel like I've seen. I feel like not only did I feel like I watched it live, I feel like I was courtside. I've seen that play so many times. Right?
I know I didn't see that one live. That was a different era. The Sweet 16 wasn't available. The Flutie thing was so shocking. It was Thanksgiving weekend. I was watching my dad and my brother, and we all yelled when it happened. It was at the end of an incredible shootout, a great back-and-forth game. They'd just given up the go-ahead score with 30 seconds left. You thought they were beaten. And we yelled, and my mom was taking a nap and came running out because she was sure somebody was hurt. No, it was a great playing a football game. She was so mad.
Why in your family it is always involving some form of bodily harm?
Because people carry their traumas. I don't know what to tell you, man.
If it might have been my mother, she would have yelled from the bedroom, "Shut the bleep up," and rub some dirt on it and walk it off. And that's the beauty of you. I remember nothing about what happened before. I just remember the play. I remember nothing else about the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a great game. It was just an outstanding game. And I think more recent stuff we've seen like that. Villanova and North Carolina trading buckets at the end of the title game. Those two just big shots and a really well-designed three to win the game. And just that was – there were a lot of great NCAA tournament games, but it feels like we're getting fewer of the dramatic buzzer beaters. Actually, the best miss is Gordon Hayward from half court. That would have been something if it had gone in, but it was amazing just hitting the back of the rim.
I don't know if I really. I mean, it's a miss technically, but I don't count on half court shots of going in to win games. And
nope.
Not that it's necessarily a fluke, because I'm sure he practiced that probably 100 or so times in his life. And when you're doing that, you never know when that's going to happen. So you might as well practice it.
I don't think I was watching Jordan live. I think I saw later that day cut in or whatever in another game. I'm not that. But the one I remember watching live was when Lillard hit that 38-footer or whatever it was over Paul George. I remember thinking, what is he doing? What is he doing?
Wow, twice?
Like, go. And instead he's just dribbling the clock down to launch that thing. That was unreal.
What is he doing? What is he doing? You know, in the CYO All-Stars, when I was in 8th grade of Morris Catholic High School in Denville, New Jersey, I nailed that shot that Gordon Hayward missed. Right side, time running out, banked it. Place went nuts. But it was only to end a quarter. It wasn't to end the game or halftime. We had quarters then in CYO. And I threw the ball, got the ball, chucked it up. Two guys collided. The ball bounced back to me at half court. I heaved it from the hip and banked it in.
The thing I remember about the Cleveland game was that Elo had just scored with 3 seconds left to put the Cavs ahead before Jordan made the shot. What I didn't know until I saw this go by on social media was that Jordan had made a go-ahead hoop with 6 seconds left. So, yeah, I don't have any recollection of that. So, can't remember them all.
I had a friend.
All right, DJ PK. Yep.
Who played basketball at USC when George Raveling was the coach. And he was coaching Greg Kelo at Washington State. And my friend said everything that was good about basketball, Raveling would cite Craig Elo's story to the guys on the USC team. Got so sick about hearing about Craig Elo, they grew to hate him even though they had never met him.
I didn't know that about George Raveling. George Raveling was a great character in the history of college basketball. That's a good story. I hadn't heard that one. That's funny. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got to take a break. When we come back, Jazz needs some lottery luck. How do you get it? Who's going to provide it? We will get to that coming up next. Stay with us.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Bloomerang knows when it comes to impact, bigger is better, and more leads to more. We help nonprofits think bigger and do more with fundraising, CRM, and volunteer insights all connected, raising the bar on what's possible. For nonprofits of all sizes, that's huge. Let's see how big you can go with the giving platform built for purpose. Learn how you can do more with more at bloomerang.com.
Don't just show up to Supercross, be part of the weekend. 511 is hosting a free event with custom Jeeps, a great crowd, and more tomorrow from 2 to 6 with Jake and Ben. They'll be at their Salt Lake store. That's at 369 West, 1830 South in Salt Lake. Well, PK, the question before the people now is Keontae George will represent the Jazz at the lottery selection. Who is your choice? And this question offered 2 answers. One was a group of people who thought who should be sitting up on the podium as the good luck charm, and the other one was which player do you want to pick? I suppose you and men were talking about Keontae George and who should be up there representing the club.
Yeah. Who do you want?
Brian wants Thurl Bailey because he needs some of that old school Jazz with the winning attitude right up front there.
Hasn't Thurl done it, though?
I think he did. I think he did do it in the last rebuild, I think. It's been a while.
How'd it work?
I don't remember. Probably not well because it never works well. But I don't remember what happened.
Now's the time that it will work well then.
See? Give him another shot, right?
Yeah.
The person who got multiple shout-outs that I think might be a little less expected, Tyson says it's got to be Dallin Oaks.
What?
Seems fitting, and I'm sure he'd be up for it.
The president of the church?
What?
And David says Dallin H. Oaks, if either Dallas or San Antonio gets the top pick, he can dust off his feet on the way out.
No.
Okay, then.
Come on. That's it. No.
Got multiple people.
I'm not sure that's appropriate. And I live in the category of inappropriate.
Dust off his feet on the way out. You didn't like that reference? Somebody's been paying attention.
No. I mean, it's too religious.
All right. Eric Lechner, Rusty says. We're going back to old school Jazz. Wyoming's Eric Lechner.
Eric Lechner?
Yeah.
Did he play for the Jazz?
I thought he did briefly.
Oh, I don't know.
One of those, blowing through town on the way in and the way out real quick.
Yeah, I remember the guy when he played at Wyoming. I understand. I know who Eric Lechner was. I don't remember him playing for the Jazz.
Leslie wants John Stockton there.
John Stockton. Well, gosh, I mean, you probably can't get him to shut up once he gets there.
It's true. He's much more available now.
He's probably already got a commitment. He's doing speaking, some autograph signing somewhere.
I thought he would go back to Spokane and we wouldn't hear from him again. I thought of all the people who will be quiet and go away, absolutely Stockton. And that's not how it's played out.
Yeah, but things that resonated in his heart, he needs to speak.
Apparently, yeah.
And I support his right to speak it all the way through.
Yep.
Even if I don't necessarily agree with what the topic that he's speaking on. But it has been kind of funny there in the COVID thing. You couldn't get him to stop talking. He was doing every podcast. He might as well, you're always looking for podcasts. Why don't you do one with Stockton?
Ooh. Wonder if he did that. Dan says it was Colin Sexton 2 years ago, Ashley Smith last year. Maybe send one of the Utah Mammoth.
No. I think they should send Dan Roberts.
You do not. That is an epic you answer right there, though. That is on brand, man. That is.
Why not?
Well, to quote a famous athlete, do you really want me to get into it?
What are you, Max Hall?
Yes, I am.
Well,
I think Max had the right answer right there.
And what did I say?
Thanks,
when
Max, for providing me
asked
that. I
me,
appreciate
he was talking to me. He said, he looked right at me because I asked the question, and he said, "Do you really want me to go into it?" And I said, "Yes."
Please.
Were you in the room then, Yuck?
No, I wasn't. I can tell you exactly where I was though. So I
Where
hear
were you?
I'm listening to the post-game press conference. I'm with my buddy, and I hear the question get asked. I can tell you the exact spot. I was in the car waiting in traffic while that answer went down. We were just like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, I asked the question.
It was right there. It was right there on University Avenue. I can take you right to the spot.
And then at the Vegas Bowl, his mother got in my face.
Didn't she say you baited him or whatever?
Oh, yeah, she was hot. She was hot. Because I was doing some TV work for another place in time, and it was dark, but we had the camera in the spotlight, and so, you got to light it up. So, yeah, she found me. I didn't go find her. She found me. Because I was going to interview Matt Ballman, but they said no, he had to go. I don't remember who they played.
Last time he can get interviewed.
But they won the game, and we're out on the field there. I was doing work for another station, and
go where? Great answer.
She did confront me on the field. And I may or may not have told that to a Utah coach that night, and we got a good laugh out of it. But that's okay. I mean, it's her son and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's who Max was, man. And now it's lore that has just – it's rivalry. It's rivalry. And I can remember going that I had to be in the Bay Area for some personal thing, and it had nothing to do that night. So I went to an Oakland A's game, me and about 2,000 other people. And this guy right behind me, and we could have had rows, but ended up together right behind me, and I heard him talk, and somehow we got the conversation, and, what do you do, blah, 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 and I told him. He says, yeah, I don't understand why that was such a big deal. That's what a rivalry's all about. And so, yeah, I saw that. I heard that. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's why it's a rivalry. That's the very reason. He wouldn't have said that about any other school in the entire country. He wouldn't have said it. But it was Utah. And that's why that rivalry, I mean, he's just going to town on the beauty of the rivalry. And he's just a sports fan from the Bay Area. He's got no connection whatsoever. And he's just telling me, why did everybody make such a big deal about that? And he had to apologize, blah, 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 blah. And hey, you got a point there, buddy.
Okay, I've got it then. We're sending Max Hall.
I don't know. Is Max Hall a Jazz fan or a Suns fan?
I don't know. He's not in Arizona, but
yeah. No, I want Dan Roberts. You took Dan Roberts to the departure was bitter. I understand that, but I meant him standing there with that great voice of his and. How about them Jazz? Bring him out. And when they get the number one pick, yeah, I just meant for the excitement that he could bring, right? I mean, he did that legendary for years. I don't know who the new guy is, but he hadn't anything to talk about. I mean, they hadn't, this season is a rebuild season, There'll be good times, and this new guy can make his own mark. I don't even know his name. But Dan, with those pipes and that, we associate the arena with the Jazz coming out, timeouts or what have you, with his voice during the good times. That's why I said Dan Roberts.
Eric wants there to be an empty chair representing the Jazz. Silent protest. Be kind of weird if they finally hit and they had an empty chair there. That'd be a bad look.
Well, you got to send somebody who's connected to Utah. I got the perfect guy. Ace DeBonsa.
Who? Yes, we were getting that. His parents have gotten multiple shout-outs.
Oh, they have?
People. A lot of people on board with you right there. Yeah.
Ace likes a crowd. He's comfortable being around folk. He's been there. He's done interviews, right? He seems like he's got some charisma. He's got Utah ties now, man.
Yep.
That would be funny.
Glenn says AJ's dad and or mom send both the parents. But see, that'd be pretty awkward if, Golden State moves up. And we have people saying that. Whoever goes, be prepared. Keep that straight face when the Warriors move up. I don't know where I was. I was somewhere, and I saw a screen, and it was they were doing a projection of different teams if they hit the way Dallas hit, moving up. Well, if the Warriors got him, here's their starting lineup, assuming everybody's healthy, right? Butler and Draymond, and keep the band together and plug him in, and Steph Curry, and yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. Locke tells us rookies don't win games, they lose games.
Yep.
And Locke is your gospel, man. When he speaks, you believe everything he says.
Well, I think if he were here right now, he would point out PK Edgecombe was one of the guys launching threes last night that weren't going in. He had some that did go in too, but late in the game, he was out there.
You just proved my point right there.
Nor kid anyway.
All you did is just,
there it is.
You furthered my
gang
point.
Up on me right there.
That he's gospel to you, and that's fine. You too, you can just bathe yourselves in stats. Awesome.
Another guy who's getting a lot of shout-outs is Carlos Boozer. And obviously with a tie with his son, projected to go very high in the draft.
Oh, yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
3, but we'll see.
I'd take his son.
So multiple people want Carlos there.
I would be quite content with Cameron Boozer playing for the Jazz.
That'd be a win.
Yeah. Because I think he'll be solid. To what level? Coming into this year's team next year, it may take a bit. Stockton needed to sit for a little bit because they had Ricky Green, an accomplished player, ahead of him, right? And then that situation sorted itself out. Well, you get a Cameron Boozer, very good player. There's no doubt in my mind. I've been watching him play for multiple years now. That he comes in, but that's the strength. His position is the strength of the team. But that gives Austin Ainge more options. And Ainge with options is dangerous. I will say that. I'm very confident of that.
Like the thought of getting somebody on a rookie contract that they can plug in and play because they got a couple highly paid guys. They're about to have another one. We'll see to what degree, assuming that gets worked out with Kessler. So to have a couple guys in the rotation on rookie deals in the first and second year and staying on those rookie deals for a couple of years, that'll be a huge win.
Yeah, and plus,
but you got to move up.
The guys who are going to be highly paid, I also believe that they would be sought after. Meaning, if you wanted to move Markkanen, there are people who would want Lauri Markkanen on their team because he's a really good player.
Yeah, you could search that right now and see all kind of rumors. I saw, with the teams as they get knocked out, people they'll do segments or write profiles or whatever. And, in Toronto, and they had a whole list of how does Toronto upgrade? They're in the middle of the East, and it's not that far to the top of the East. And they had a whole list of players Toronto could be aggressive and go get. And, of course, Markkanen was on the list. Made me think of like a Matt Harpering back in the day. You're good enough, you're going to be on a list because you can help a lot of people. Now, do they want it at $50 million, and who else could they get with that money? And everybody's got to weigh that. But his name's always going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
I think we just have to get used to that. Whether they move him or not, the name's going to be out there.
And Harpering was a nice player, but I think Markkanen's better. But still, the point you were making, I take that.
More size.
Understand. Yeah. And so I'm just saying that if they can get a top 3 pick, maybe they don't even need that, but just go on the assumption of that. They have an opportunity then to do different things, maybe things that we have never even thought about that could come their way. And they would have the cliche of no stone unturned and all that stuff to see. This Mother's Day deal is an extremely important day for the Jazz, as it is for other teams too, but we focus on the Jazz. And if things break right, it just really could set them up for a nice run. And then you've got a nucleus, and maybe it's not quite good enough now, but you've got a strong nucleus to where you could add some parts that make it even better in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. Yeah, I don't want to go crazy here.
Yeah.
But I think that this, if it goes their way, that there can be some really good times ahead.
It does need to go their way, and you're right about an Ainge with options, and it's necessary because although I'm bullish on what this group can accomplish next year, I also think there's clearly a ceiling to what this group can accomplish. So they're going to need options to, as you say, add pieces over 2, 3, or 4 years.
Right.
This is, I think it's going to be a much better team next year, but the goal is to open a championship window. You haven't heard me say anything about them opening a championship window next year. If that happens, I'm surprised. If it happens, I assume it's because there are other moves made, as you say, that we can't anticipate right now. I think they're building a 50-win team for next year, and I think they could maybe win a playoff series. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But I don't expect anything beyond that. I think it's 50 wins, and it's out in the first or second round. That's the combination we're probably looking at right now, given the way the West stacks up. But to your point, if they get some good fortune and there's a chance to make other moves, especially if some of the pieces are a little bit redundant, and then who knows what that looks like, maybe we'll have a new assessment. Sitting here today, I don't think there's any point in going out on that limb. But it is a better team, and they might have a little bit of playoff success, but they'll need those options. They'll need to make multiple moves if they're going to have more than that. That's how it looks right now. And obviously, there's a long way to go, and Sunday at 1 o'clock is really important.
Yeah, well, especially with San Antonio and Oklahoma City sitting there, and the nucleus of their guys are so stinking young that you can argue, certainly in the San Antonio situation, that they're not even close to their peak and their best. Bill Armstrong talks about the best, that they have these guys, these prospects, and when they're in there ready to go, that's when they're going to be at their best. And you don't have the minor leagues in the basketball to that level. I realize you got the G League, but most of those guys that come up aren't stars in the way that you have a baseball minor league and a hockey minor league. So the Spurs are scary in that you could argue they're 2-3 years away from being at their best. And so the Jazz are going to have to compete with that, and we'll see what OKC does in the next 2 to 3 years. But, for now, it's about themselves and making their team the best. And you got to get to 50 wins before you can even think about being a title contender. You got to get to 50 wins. Now, getting 50 wins doesn't make you a title contender, but in order to be a title contender, you've got to get to the 50-win plateau. I wonder if you went in the history of the league, how many teams are winning titles without winning 50 games? Probably not very many, right? That seems the threshold of the starting point. If you win 50, you're a pretty good team, and then see what you got and what the matchups are from that point on, and who's available, who's hurt, what have you, and all that stuff. And so they've got to get to there. And if they get to there in the 26-27 season, it'd be hard for me to say, well, that was a bad season. We'll see what happened in the playoff. But get to that point. Can this team next season, and we don't know what the roster is and its complete composition, but can this team get to 50 wins? Because then when you get to 50 wins, as long as you don't do a bunch of stupid moves and break it up, like the Suns did with the Hornacek, they got to 48 and they broke it up. It made no sense, right? Stupid. And I don't think the Jazz would do that. But let's see if they can get to 50, and at that point, then you're on to something. And where do you go from there?
I would bet that in our professional careers, the only team that's won a title without getting to 50 was Olajuwon's Rockets. I bet that's the only time. There might be another one out there, and I've never looked that up, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. It just, you got to get there. And
Right.
The funny thing is the way the league stacks up right now, and the West is so good, and the two teams at the top are so good, if you can win 2 playoff series in the West right now, you are a title contender. Winning that second series right now makes you a title contender. I don't think you can say that in the East, but you can say that in the West for sure.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, Matt Tait covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports, our spring football tour with Matt next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
The head coach of the University of Utah, Alex Jensen, kind enough to hang out with us.
I knew there's not any one person or one thing to blame, but the decline with the basketball at the University of Utah, I knew it had gone down. We played 4 top 10 teams at home, and we played Arizona was number 1 in the country, and the place was half full. And I remember walking out, and that was the first time I got pissed off because things had just slid, and it's everything. There's just a disconnect, I think, through the community. I can't count how many people that came up and said, yeah, we've had tickets, or we used to have tickets. Everybody remembers going to a camp when they were young, and they have memories of a game and stuff. It takes a while to build. The connection's been lost. And it doesn't help that the team changes as much as it does every year. I'd love to have the continuity, but that's just not with the rules the way they are now. It's not the world we live in.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined right now by Matt Tait. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How we doing, guys?
We are doing well this morning. Kansas Jayhawks, they are going to play both Utah and BYU, and as you're probably about to find out, my co-host went to Arizona State, and they're on the schedule too. So they got we like to joke about our 3 local teams. ASU in September, Utah in October, BYU in November. And I am curious, in an era when a lot of people have stopped spending money on facilities and spend it on players, obviously Kansas had this massive stadium rebuild, and you'd argue that just had to be done, the state of the program and all that. Is that providing the type of momentum and energy going forward, both in recruiting but also in the fan base and donors and all that, that is expected to, or is there a little bit of thought that, man, we zigged when everyone else zagged and it's left us a little behind?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think the response to what they've done and they've done it right is the most important part. It's not been a Band-Aid approach. They knocked the whole thing down and really didn't cut any corners and have made it an incredible facility. And it's beyond 6 football games in the fall too. I mean, they're using that thing year round and certainly plan to do more and more as it gets complete and as the years move on. So, they did it right. That got people excited. It looks nice. It looks fancy. It's as nice as there is maybe in the country in terms of, seat for seat, pound for pound, all that stuff. And I think the momentum would be off the charts if they just won better the last couple of years. I mean, 5-7 the last 2 years, good enough to be good, not good enough to be good, leaving a little to be desired. Obviously, they had a ton of talent both of those years, and especially at the quarterback position. And so I think the jury's still out a little bit on how all in people are, because they want to support a winner on that field. It's great to have the facility, but they want to watch their team win. And so this year, next year, very big years for the program. They were so close to a bowl game each of the last 2 years, and really even just getting to 6-6 would have changed the trajectory entirely. I mean, especially at Kansas, you don't take bowl games and bowl appearances for granted at all. So I think the 5-7 records have hurt them a little bit, but by and large, people are still interested, excited, and the program's still relevant around here, and that's what makes this year such a big, big year.
Quarterback-wise, you got Cole Ballard, Isaiah Marshall, Rice transfer, Chase Jenkins. What do you think?
Yeah, it's down to Ballard and Marshall for sure. Jenkins is a really nice player, brings some depth, brings some athleticism. They like him. They wouldn't have brought him in if they didn't, and those other two guys like him too. So I just think he's too far behind, and he's been injured a little bit in spring. So I really think it's a race at the top with those other two guys, and it's a really interesting battle. I mean, all quarterback battles are interesting by nature, but it's a really interesting battle because in some ways Cole and Isaiah are similar, and in other ways they're completely different. I mean, Cole is a really bright quarterback. He runs the offense the way it needs to be run. He knows where guys are going to be. He knows how to get teams into good plays and out of bad plays. He knows, how to be consistent. He knows how to be smart, and he's got a little bit of experience. Isaiah is the opposite of that. I mean, the question with him is, how well can he run the offense? How does it look when he's out there in charge? We haven't seen it a ton. He's been on the field some, but mostly just as a playmaker. And that's where he's exciting for people, is because he is a dynamic talent. I mean, when he gets going with his legs, he can make plays that Cole can't make. He can make plays that a lot of guys can't make. So I think the whole thing's going to come down to consistency. And if you made me pick today, I'd probably give the edge to Cole Ballard because of that. I mean, he just has a more consistent approach, and he's shown that in the limited time he's been able to be out there. But I do think they'll both play. I mean, I think if Cole Ballard's your starter, I still think they have a handful of packages, and maybe more than we've seen in the past for Isaiah to be in the game, because he's too good of an athlete and too explosive and too dynamic of a player on any potential snap for him to not play at all. So I think even if it is Cole as the starter, I think they're going to find a way to play them both, not in a 2-quarterback system or alternating drives or anything crazy like that. I asked this spring about that, and it's been done. I don't know that many coaches, if any anymore, want to do that ever or even like it, but what they're talking about is different than that. So I think they both play, but I'd have to pick Cole Ballard as of now. Isaiah's going to need a really, really good camp to pass him.
So that leads us to the receiving corps then. Cam Pickett is back. Their transfers, 50 new players, 32 of them transfers. 12 early enrollee freshmen I read about. But Nick McMillan, a transfer from Buffalo, Najee Cox from Middle Tennessee, along with Cam Pickett returning. Is it wide receiver by committee? Is there somebody who's going to jump out of this group and be dominant? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit unknown right now. I think, they've got bodies there that they like. I think if you were to name someone who would jump out, like you just talked about, I think it would be Cox. I think there's a lot to like about his game. Big, strong, physical, big hands, good, strong hands. I mean, he seems to me, and we're not out there every day in the spring and obviously aren't with them all the time either, but just talking to the coaches, talking to some of his teammates, I mean, his was a name that kept coming up, and it also was kind of centered around the idea that he keeps coming up because he keeps getting better, and the light bulb keeps going on for him every day, and he learns a little something and then commits it to memory, and then he's got it. And so I think, if you were looking for a breakout kind of guy, that would probably be as good a bet as anybody. He's not a guarantee in that regard by any means, but he's definitely somebody they like and have high hopes for. But you're right. Cam Pickett's a huge, huge player that's on the returning list. I mean, he was a dynamic part of last year's offense and had some injuries that he battled through that kept him from, really breaking out and being the explosive guy that he can be. But he's a veteran. There's a rapport there with those quarterbacks that already exists, and he knows the system and he knows the offense. And of course, the other part of that is Andy Kotelnicki's back as their offensive coordinator after 2 years at Penn State. Did really, really well, relatively speaking, at Penn State. I mean, he had them in the playoffs the first year, and then it all kind of fell apart last year. And so Kansas was really lucky to land him again. I did not think he would find his way back here. I really didn't. He's a future head coach. I kind of thought he might go find that position now at a lower level or something like that. But the connection that he has with his staff, the connection that he has with Lance Leipold is unbelievable. And so when he was available and they kicked around the idea of bringing him back, I think both sides were really excited about it. And he's back, and it's almost like he never left. And so as much as the Cam Pickett's of the world and some other guys that have been here in the past are veterans in a sense, and there's some value in those returners. Andy's new to a lot of them too, and so there is a little bit of that adjustment that needs to happen, and that's obviously what spring was about in a big way. But from everything I hear, man, Andy's come back and he's really allowed the terminology and the things that existed here after he left to stay in place, and he's learned it instead of forcing the players to learn what he wants and what he calls things and things like that. He's learned their language, and that's a credit to him for sure. He's a heck of a coach, and I really do think it was noticeable with him gone, and I do think it'll be noticeable with him back. He's just an excellent play caller, and he does some really fun stuff out there, and even when you're overmatched talent-wise, he can find a way to sort of negate that.
Top 4 rushers, or top 3 rushers, I should say, are gone from last season, the 2 running backs, and then Jalen Daniels, obviously the quarterback. So what's going to happen as far as who's carrying the ball?
Well, Dylan Edwards is an incredible talent. He's had a heck of a weird career. He's a Kansas kid. KU recruited him hard out of Derby High School when he was one of the top prospects in the country. I couldn't even give you the list in order of where he chose and didn't choose, but I know he played at Colorado, and I know he played at K-State, and I know Notre Dame was in the mix too. But he finally landed at Kansas. Incredible player. I mean, he really is. It's as much mental with him. I mean, he's got to have his head on straight and be right and be happy and be in a place that he feels good, and all signs this spring pointed to him maybe feeling better than he's ever felt as a college football player, and part of that's credit to him, part of that's credit to this staff, part of that's credit to his teammates, because he was a sort of lightning rod for attention at all of those other stops, and there were some really highs and some really lows, and he's an interesting player, but his talent is undeniable. And everything that I've heard about him so far is that, this guy is a game changer. And so he's a nice piece that you can add for what you just mentioned, making up for the loss of what was in that running back room last year. He's a nice piece for a coach like Andy Kotelnicki to have, because he can do so many different things with him. And if he stays healthy and stays happy, I mean, he should be as good as there is in the conference, and has a chance to have a real monster year. They do have some talent behind him. Yassine Willis is a player they brought in, a big physical punishing runner, but he likes to say that he's not just that. I mean, he's got some moves and some shake to him too, but he'll happily run over you as well. It's really wild to watch those two guys stand next to each other, because Dylan's tiny, and it's sort of like that Brandon Jacobs photo from the Giants years ago, when I can't remember who the other guy in the photo was, but big and small, extra large and extra small. I mean, it's wild to see that they play the same position. But there's a couple other backs, a couple returners that have been kind of in and out of health and are hoping to make a splash. kid named Thurman's one. And then there's a true freshman that everybody talks about and really likes. And his name's Corey Amakri, and he's from Michigan, and physically, mentally, everything. He brings an approach that certainly doesn't seem like a true freshman. I mean, he looks like he's ready to play meaningful snaps right away, and I would at this point be shocked if he doesn't contribute in some way. So a totally different room. You're right about that, but it's not missing talent, and it's not missing depth, and it's not missing options. I mean, they can do a lot of things with the backs they have.
Matt Tait joining us, Kansas Spring Football Tour. You already mentioned the back-to-back 5-win seasons, not getting bowl eligible. Giving up almost 27 points a game and 173 yards on the ground. It's clear the rush defense has to get better, and the defense has to improve if Kansas is going to have winning records and be bowl eligible in that. So what does the D-line look like? How much did they beef that up?
Yeah, you mentioned the number of transfers, and so there's a lot of guys up there that are factoring into that as well, and they're all new to us, right? So we hear what we hear, and there's some names that are thrown around, but without having seen it or gotten to know them or actually seen them deliver on Saturdays, it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. I know that, the D-line, it's obviously a little bit different when you're talking interior and on the edge, but Leroy Harris is a guy that they're really excited about. He had a pretty strong year last year and was still very much, growing into the position and into himself and into the sport and all of that. And so I think the expectation with Leroy is to have a monster year this year. And there's no reason to think that he can't. I mean, a hard worker, incredible length, incredible, athleticism. I mean, he's one of those guys that just really seems like he's ready to take the next step and to make an impact that's bigger than he's had before, and they're going to need that. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is it's not just they hope he makes that impact; they need him to, and so I think that's a name to watch on the D-line for sure. I mean, again, he's an edge rusher, and so it's a little bit different when you're talking about the interior and the edge, but he's a huge part of it. Blake Harreld's another guy on the interior. He's not going to wow anybody really, but he's just always been there, and he's a veteran KU guy. He's been here his whole career, and he's just a steady, hard-working dude, makes plays, continues to get better, and that's certainly a name that people know, and he still, I think, has a chance to even take another step forward in his production and what he can bring to the defense. They brought in a couple of guys. There's a guy named Iman Smalls. They call him Biggie. He's a name to watch up there too, 6'2", 315 pounds. Dak Brinkley's another Kansas guy. He's been here his whole career. He's on the edge there, on the other side from Leroy, and Dak was highly recruited out of high school in Arizona, and stuck with Kansas. He came in with 2 or 3 guys from the same high school, and I think the other 2 are gone now. They transferred out, but he stuck it out, and he's had playing time, but now's the time for him to take the next step, and everything seems to be as it should be with him. I mean, they're ready for him to have that breakout year, but it's not like he's behind or has disappointed in any way. I mean, he just keeps getting better, and he keeps getting more experience. And so Leroy and Dak are the edge guys to watch, and then with Biggie and Blake Harreld and another guy, David Santiago, who came spent some time at Michigan State and Air Force. That's another interior guy, edge guy. I mean, they have a lot of guys, like I said, that are hoping to just kind of slot into a rotation. They don't mind, rotating guys through and keeping fresh legs on the field. If they have, 8 D tackles that can play and they're all worthy of playing time, they'll find a way to play all 8. If they only have 2, then they'll lean on those guys. But I think they're still sorting that out a little bit. But those are some names to watch and guys that will have to have an impact for this defense to be better.
The thought is if you go overseas, and that's where they're playing ASU, that those teams come back and there's a struggle. And I think they have a bye, and then Middle Tennessee, then they play Utah. Was there any concern about that? Because I think that was, part of Kansas State's thing the year before in Ireland this past season. I'm wondering what the ramification was as far as anything negative by playing that game over there.
I think they're super excited about it. I do. I mean, I know what you're talking about, and I think they like the way the schedule sets up in that regard. They do play Missouri right before that game, which is, their biggest rival from all the way back to the Civil War. So, it's a little bit of a wild stretch there when you look at it that way, but having the bye after the game is important. And then, of course, there are reports out there that say they're making $2.7 million to go play the game. So in this day and age, if someone's going to give you $2.7 million, you go play wherever they want you to play. I mean, and Lance has talked about, wanting to do a game like this from the time he got here. There's a lot that he likes about the idea of being the only game in town, being sort of a spotlight showcase game. It gets more attention. It gets more eyeballs. That certainly helps with recruiting. That helps with your fan base. I think they hope a lot of people are going to go over. I think if they were back-to-back bowl teams and had won one of those or two of those maybe, I think the number of Kansas fans that would make that trip would be enormous. But I think that's where they may pay for that a little bit. They may not get the fan support and the travelers that they initially hoped when they decided to jump into this game. But I think overall they're excited about it. It's an awesome opportunity to be in that showcase and then also show recruits and whatever, that you'll go do things like this. So, they've got to play the game and they've got to show well, and obviously they want to win. And if they don't win against a really tough opponent and they get their doors blown off, maybe they'll have some negatives on the back end of it. But right now I've heard nothing but excitement and positive stuff about the opportunity and just the fact that they're going to do this is something they've wanted to do.
He's Matt Tait. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports. Matt, thanks for taking a few minutes and talking spring football with us here and getting us ready for Big 12 football in the fall.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. But, I'll take summer first. So you guys enjoy it. And that Arizona State thing, the connection you have there is interesting because KU and Arizona State baseball are both factoring into the Big 12 race right now. So
first and second place.
There you go. Enjoy that if you're paying attention, and that's a whole other topic that we could get into another time. But for Kansas baseball to be ranked 7th in the country is even more mind blowing than the big football stadium and bowl games on Saturdays. It's unbelievable. So thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, Matt. See, Matt getting right in your wheelhouse right there, PK. Let's go college baseball, huh?
Yeah, each team has 2 series left, and then on to the conference tournament.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. Coming up, we got to dive into the NBA Draft Lottery. We're doing that at the top of the hour. It's coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but are we experiencing the most uninteresting NBA playoff we've had for a while? Oklahoma City's great. San Antonio looks to be pretty good. Everybody else sucks. I don't think San Antonio's as good as Oklahoma City. I think it might be even a one-sided West, which seems crazy, but
whoever comes out of the East is going to get trounced by whoever comes out of the West. The only series I think anyone's truly waiting for now in the playoffs is Spurs Thunder, and that's going to come in the conference finals, and that's going to be viewed as essentially the finals because whoever wins that's going to get the championship. So I think everybody's waiting for that.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And a reminder, here comes Mother's Day, and Minky Couture is here to help. Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, at Minky Couture in Layton today from 10 to 2. Shop now for Mother's Day deals or get 50% off any regularly priced blanket with the code ZONE50. Mother's Day this weekend. Get on your game. Try not to mess it up. Cocktail dress, PK? Down to Kmart or JCPenney's?
No, that's Valentine's. No. You want to fortify your mother or your wife. You want to make sure that she's honored. The cocktail dress really just honors me. It's about me for Valentine's Day. Mother's Day, it's about her. You know what I'm saying there, doggy?
I hear you now. Now I get it. Now I'm clear. Thank goodness I had you spell it out for me so I didn't mess this up. Don't get my holidays confused.
Right. Birthday, maybe, anniversary. You can get a little, but Mother's Day, that's a deep-rooted holiday. And it should be Mother's Month.
There you go.
Not just a day. I mean, mothers, come on. That's the toughest job in the world, is it not? And it never ends. It literally never ends. Your whole life.
Moms carry a major weight.
Yes. About 90% in my instance.
My mother-in-law used to say, parenting gets a lot harder after they turn 18. It was way easier to give orders than it is to make suggestions. It's a pretty good line.
Well, yeah, the bigger they are, the bigger the problems.
There you go. All right. Miki Couture today. Scotty G and the coach will be there from 10 to 2. Zone 50. That's the code to save you 50%. Zone 50. We've listened to a few, and we're just getting started here with the spring football tour. But with Utah and BYU back in the same league now and playing some of the same opponents, it does shorten it up a little bit. We've had a few teams here, and we just had Arizona yesterday, where they are both playing them. You getting any feel for these teams, or when you got 50 transfers and even the people covering the team who aren't allowed to watch practice, it's like there's just too many unknowns right now.
Well, I think you have a feel, but you know that there's so many different variables that are involved that things can change. And players that have had a little bit of experience, maybe they get in a better situation if you're talking about the transfer situation there, and then they can catch lightning if they are good and the system is good and the players around them are good. We've seen that, so you don't really know for sure. But I think you have a feel to a large degree about what the seasonal goals are for Kansas. Bowl eligibility is a big deal because they didn't get it the last 2 seasons. And that, when you only need 6, right, and you should set yourself up with at least 2 in your non-conference schedule, maybe not all 3.
They did.
And so you're a quarter of the way or a third of the way there, I should say, right, with 2. And if you don't get it, it ends up being extremely disappointing. It's not that high of a bar to achieve. So I think each of these teams have different goals. And for Kansas right now, I think that goal is to be bowl eligible. We were talking about Arizona. I think for the Cats, it's to see, can they put together a really good season and cash in on Fafita's tenure as the longest tenured quarterback in the conference. Certainly at the same school. He's never left, and he's had opportunities, obviously. Because he's short, he's probably going to have a hard time in the NFL, but as a college football quarterback, I think he's really good.
DJ and PK, when we come back, we got to dive into the NFL Draft Lottery. It's coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. Matt Babcock, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops, will join us next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good night's sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ and PK, it is time to take a dive into the NBA draft. What will happen Sunday, 1 o'clock? The draft lottery. It all gets sorted out. And then we can start figuring out which teams like which players. Matt Babcock joins us, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
We're doing well. A lot of anticipation here. Jazz fans watch BYU's A.J. DeBonsa play well all year long. It's pretty much unanimous. Everybody here wants A.J. Debonson, the number one pick. Is it unanimous across the country in your mind, or are there some holdouts who are looking at somebody else?
There's been a lot of debate all year. I think with Debonson, Peterson, Boozer, and as you guys saw all year with AJ, he's just really earned it. He's kind of chipped away at everybody, and I think across the board, I think he's the number one guy. I think you probably have some scouts here and there that might have Peterson or Boozer, but if I were to bet on it, I think Debonson's going to go number one regardless of who wins the lottery.
Yeah, and we're hoping that the Jazz win for their sakes, but odds are against them, obviously, I guess, as they are for every team. So if they should draft a little later, we talk about the top three being Debonson, Peterson, Boozer, but how about 4 through 7? Who do you like?
Well, I think Caleb Wilson's probably in the mix with that top tier as well. And what's interesting with those top 4 guys, they're all very different. And going, looking at that 5 to 8 range, and then looking at the Jazz and what they have in place already, I would imagine there's some interesting internal conversations, specifically because there's so many guards. And how do they see Keontae George taking the next steps in his development? Because this past year, even though the team struggled, he really elevated his play, and he did that as a primary ball handler. And so I'd be asking myself with guys like Kingston Fleming or Darius Acuff, who are both, very much on-ball guards, do they coexist well long-term? And so it might lead them to a guy like Keaton Wagler, who's more of like a 6'6" on-ball, off-ball type combo guard, or a Braden Burries at Arizona. But the bulk of that group is guards.
That's an interesting thought there, who fits, because don't teams get in trouble deciding who fits? Isn't it just take the best player? And if you have players who duplicate each other and really don't fit on the court well together, guys are missing a lot of games. Maybe guys shouldn't play as many minutes so they don't miss as many games. Maybe there's a way to do it, and if there isn't, can't you make a trade, especially with guys who are on rookie contracts?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely a fair point, and I definitely think if there's a clear-cut best prospect available in the front office's mind, they should probably go with that player. I think in this year's draft in that range, it's close. I'd be open to an argument of rearranging that order a bunch of different ways. It's just a very talented group. This freshman class is really incredible. And keep in mind, with all the craziness of college basketball and NIL and the transfer portal, these teams are older and well put together. And this freshman class kind of just steamrolled through things, which is really impressive. So my point being is this class is really, really good.
With that in mind, and it's just a projection, so obviously we can't hold you to it, but how many All-Stars would you say would be in this draft?
That's obviously a tough thing to say. I think there's probably I think the top 10, I think all of these players have All-Star potential. Are all of them going to click on all cylinders? Of course not. But I would imagine we have at least several, if not more.
You mentioned that you thought Caleb should be considered with that top 3 group. I was wondering if there was a top 3. He was 4, and then there was a group after that. But if he was really locked into that 4 spot, if he were to move up a spot or two, who moves behind him and who are you dropping down? Or who do you think teams are dropping down and why?
I think it would be – I think every team's going to look at it slightly differently. If I were to bet on it, I think Boozer would probably be the guy to slip. And when I say slip, we're talking about slipping like one pick. But, I do think Caleb Wilson does have a lot of fans. His combination of he's 6'10", he's freakishly athletic and very versatile. I think his upside is just very, very high. And so, right now, the Jazz are penciled in at number 4. That's the guy I have them taking if they were to get that spot.
I've always thought, going back many years, John Calipari knows NBA talent, and he's talked about how when he was at Kentucky, they listed the amount of money that his players were earning. Well, now obviously he's moved over to Arkansas. I didn't watch them a lot, as much as I would watch a Kentucky team. So I'm wondering what you think of Acuff, because I just look at Calipari's guys in the NBA, and he seems to have a lot of them who are good.
Darius Acuff is a very talented player. Another freshman that just had an incredible year. Averaged, I think, 20-some points a game as a true freshman. And, the issue I would have with him, if I'm looking at it from a Utah perspective, is he's only about 6'2". He's just okay on the defensive end. Going back to coexisting with Keontae George, we got two pretty much scoring guards that aren't known for the defensive end. That would be my concern. But the guy is a very talented offensive player, really good with the ball in his hands, creating, and he's a good shooter as well.
It seems like you get to this second group, you can always look at the negative. Wagler was just off the radar, second-round pick. I don't know what. He was way out on the – I mean, it's like he came from last place to win the Kentucky Derby and to move here into the top 6. ACUP people question his defense with Wilson. There's a question about three-point shooting. Are there any of these that you're willing to dismiss? Because it looks like these are the things that are maybe dragging each one of these guys, or might be dragging these guys down in the eyes of some of the teams. Are any of them you think can be dismissed, or are some of those serious concerns?
I'm not overly concerned with anything, too much as far as these guys being guys I wouldn't mess with. I think the guys that are projected in the top 10 or lottery, I think it's, a lot of this is weighing out the pros and cons of each player and projecting what they'll become in the next few years. Again, just a really talented group. I'm expecting big things for this class. And so I know I'm not answering your question super directly here. No red flags in this group to me.
Wonder what you think of Richie Saunders. He was a dynamic player, but he got himself injured there fairly late in the season, so I don't know if he'd be ready. But as far as him being a second-round pick, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm expecting him to get drafted. It was devastating when he learned of his injury. He did such a great job of developing and continuing to get better, and really was playing him heavily into the draft mix. And I think one thing to keep in mind is with the current landscape of college basketball, these guys with college eligibility, remaining, most of them are going back to school. I think the sort of sweet spot is if a guy's not in the top 20. It probably makes sense to go back and cash in on NIL and continuing to develop. And with that said, I think the depth of this draft will be pretty weak, which will help Richie's case quite a bit.
We've got a couple of international players in the NBA who've won multiple MVP awards, and they've each won a championship, and they were both really off the radar when it was draft time, middle of the first round, second round, with Giannis and with the Joker. So with that in mind, I know this isn't supposed to be a very good international prospect class. Just looking at mock drafts, Kareem Lopez playing in New Zealand seems to be the most thought of guy. Is there anybody there who catches your eye that we should keep an eye on? Or as advertised, is this just not a good international group this year?
Yeah, it's definitely down from an international perspective. And one thing is a lot of these international players are coming over and playing in college, and so there's less guys going to be in the draft. And so I think just the player pool in general has just sort of been trimmed down because of that. Kareem Lopez definitely, in my book, is the top international prospect. A couple of international guys that did play in college, I think are getting quite a bit of love as well. Hans Steinbach from a German kid who played at Washington this year, really talented player. Ade Mara from Spain, who won the championship with Michigan this year. There's a few of them, but I think moving forward, I think most of these top international players are going to come through the college ranks.
Is age a negative factor in that if you stay in college a year or two, or in the case of the Michigan kid, all 4 years, is that something that you knock them for? Do you think NBA executives knock them on?
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. I think if you're looking from a projection standpoint, the older the player is, theoretically there was probably some limited upside as far as how much more room for growth is there. So it changes the evaluation in the sense of, hey, is this guy ready to play and contribute right away? And so, like with Axel Lindenberg, who you're referring to, he's I think he's almost 24 years old.
Right.
And so when you're evaluating him, it's got to be more of like, okay, what is he right now? What can he contribute day one and within the first couple of years, rather than him being a 3-4 year, 5 year project.
Matt Babcock joining us, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops. I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you a little bit about the playoffs. Are you one of the people who picked the Thunder to repeat, or are you looking at somebody to knock them off?
Yeah, I think they're going to be tough to beat. I mean, there's just so much depth, and they're a well-oiled machine on both ends of the ball. And having a guy like Shea who's gets you a big bucket when needed. And I'm thinking OKC. This is probably theirs to lose.
How accurate do you think is to say, now we know we've got this group here coming in the 26th draft, right? And we've seen them play a whole year in college for the guys who are freshmen. And then we just talked about a couple of guys that have played longer. So we can have a little bit more of an accurate feel for it. But we hear a certain draft in the future. Let's just use 27 as an example. Oh, that might not be a good draft. How much do you buy the accuracy of being able to predict 1 or 2 years down the line in terms of which draft would be better or not as good?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time evaluating at the high school level. I think the expectation across the board is that the draft next year is not going to be quite as good. But I mean, there's always guys that kind of develop later, and things happen. So I don't think it's a situation where we're writing it off completely. But I think it's probably more of a situation where everybody's just so excited about this draft, and it just would be hard to compare. Not even just next year, but any draft compared to this one. I mean, this might be the most talented lottery group I've evaluated.
Matt, we'll leave it right there. Thanks so much. We appreciate you joining us and bring us up to date on the draft.
All right, thanks so much.
There it is, PK. Best draft class he has seen, so that's why you got to tank for a fourth year in a row to make sure you get in on that and get one of those good players. 10 potential All-Stars. It never, as he pointed out, it never always develops that way, but that's a lot of people with a lot of potential and a lot of high ceilings. Get the right one.
I mean, something we've been hearing about, and we got to see it up close with DeBonsa. That was a lot of fun. Glad that he came to BYU, obviously. We'll see what this Bruce Branch does in this next basketball season and where he ends up going in the 27 draft, assuming that he's good enough and would go out there. But that's what they say. It's not a certainty, but the more folks who say it leads to some credibility in that. And we got so many people doing this. The Babcocks, the whole family is into this. I mean, they start, if you go look back, I think it's his uncle and his father. They were high school teachers and coaches in the Phoenix area, and they started sending stuff out years ago, and then it's developed into this, and this is one of the groups that does this, and they basically do it full time. And so when you're devoting all this energy, nothing is for sure. I've got to state that. But I've always felt like basketball is the one where you can have the predictions come closer to the truth, knowing that it's not even necessarily 100%. I mean, we've had number 1 picks bust, number 2 picks bust. I mean, you can go down the list, right? I mean, the Jazz taking Cantor, that didn't work. And I think he was number 3, right? And that just did not stick. And we know of other guys who were later in the draft. I said this earlier, that it's amazing to me that it looks like Sam Merrill is going to have having a better NBA career than Jimmer Fredette. Who would have thought that? And that's not a knock on Jimmer. It's more about Sam being able to stick and be a critical player on a 50-win team that has a chance to get to the finals. I think you got to put Cleveland in that mix as far as having a chance to, at least if it's a long shot or whatever, it's up to you to decide, and we'll see how it plays out on the court. But that's just an example of someone who wasn't receiving a ton of buzz for the draft, gets drafted. I think he was the last pick, wasn't he? In a second round when it was his time to be drafted, and here he is still playing, not just on a roster, but playing. So you never really know, but I do feel confident that this draft, particularly for my own sake, is because I've watched these top guys now, and with the advent of these all-star games and these televised games that they put on for high school kids who've been watching these kids for a good while. And so I think that it's probably going to be true. And the Jazz have an opportunity to get a really good player. That's the most important thing.
I think that point about Richie Saunders is well taken, too. A lot of guys who might have come out after a sophomore or junior year and rolled the dice to be a second-round pick, figuring this is as hot as I'm going to be. Now the logic is take the NIL money. So the guys who are out of eligibility at the end of 4 or 5 years, to see them come into the draft and see what kind of a chance they have to get picked and what kind of chance they have to make a team, it's a different look and feel to the draft than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, to be sure.
I'm not sure I buy that, because you look at the projected first-round picks, and you've got a freshman that's listed, and I'm looking at NBADraft.net, you've got a freshman at 29, a freshman at 28, Koa Pete, who played for the U of A. We remember him as a powerful player underneath. Looking at that, he's listed, let me see, for what it's worth. I mean, who's to say that this is what it's going to be? But he's listed at 27. And, you do have some sophomores. But
I don't think Saunders I don't think Saunders is going in that area. Do you?
No.
I was thinking more Saunders at like pick 45, 50,
oh, yeah,
55.
Yeah, but I see all these freshmen.
That's where the door's open.
Okay, sure, on there, but how many of those guys came out in the first place? Second rounders. Were they really coming out before?
Well, I'd have to go back and look and run the numbers and give me something to do. But I think that the second round and late second round, you started to find the guys who've been in school 2 and 3 years. I think those are the guys who are coming back. I'm with you. At the top of the draft, those top 20, 25, 30 picks, maybe even early in the second round, there's still freshmen coming out. There's just so much money, and to get the whole clock started, to get onto the second contract and all that stuff. But I don't think Saunders is moving up. I think where the door is open for him is in the last 15 picks in the draft.
Right, but those guys that are at the end, they can get their clock started, but it doesn't mean it's going to actually start. That they're going to get a second contract.
No, they may not make the team. Yeah, he's still got to make the team, and second-round picks still get cut and sent to the G League and two-way deals and all that. So, yeah, getting drafted is just the start of it. It's not the end of it.
And I wonder, a kid like Koa Pete, I was surprised he's that low, and I wonder if he wants to come back, because these guys still have the opportunity to come back, right?
Yeah, he can. The combine's coming up later this week, and then next week is the withdrawal deadline. Pete's pretty heavily rumored to be thinking about going back.
So what you're saying, there's still a chance for DeBonsa to come back?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance?
That's where I was going with that. I think there's zero chance for him, because obviously he will be on a roster next season, and whoever drafts him, there will be tickets sold because of him. That team will make money off of him, and then they would get him into their system and get him in the community, and they're going to see, wow, for a kid who has such incredible talent and hype, he's a humble kid, and he's going to represent your organization very well in a lot of different ways. We'll see.
Somebody's going to be really excited.
Telling me there's a
Town is
chance.
going to be, here obviously.
Yeah!
Other places.
DeVonta coming back. I don't see that. But, what a dream scenario. It's a Hollywood scenario to where he gets drafted by the Jazz and plays here for 15 years. That would be the greatest story since the team actually moved.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've covered a lot of ground this morning. We will get to all of it coming up next, expanding the college football playoff, the spring football tour through Kansas, the NBA draft, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. It's all coming up. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoq.
Joining us now, Big 12 Radio, one of our favorites, Ari Temkin.
Much of their plan around next season and being the favorites of the Big 12 depended upon Sorsby being the starting quarterback. Looks like Will Hammond, who tore his ACL last year, is going to be the starting quarterback for them. To me, I'm operating under the assumption that Sorsby will not be playing quarterback for Texas Tech and will not be playing college football again. I was arguing that even with Sorsby, BYU should be in the conversation with what they bring back. I mean, Tech has a ton of talent, but BYU brings back significantly more players. I think without Sorsby, BYU is firmly in that favorite discussion. I think Houston, too, based again on what they bring back. Arizona's another team that should factor into the top of the conference. I think you can make the case that both Arizona and Utah should also be in that conversation.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Time for the Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN-1, 1-855-TRAJAN-1, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com.
Okay.
You listen to Lucas, you think there's a former Dallas Maverick executive somewhere sitting there shaking his head saying, see, I knew it. Not in great shape, doesn't stay healthy, now he's missing the playoffs.
That justifies trading him for Anthony Davis?
Nope.
A guy who's
But I still
less
wonder
healthy?
if someone's sitting there shaking his head somewhere going, see?
I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I think he's a franchise player. He got him to the finals with a ragtag team. It's unfortunate that he's hurt. You think Houston saying that about Durant? I mean, the list goes on and on there with all the injuries.
Yep. And we saw it again with Embiid out again last night, and the Sixers without him lose 108-102. They get outscored 19-12 in the fourth quarter. Some ugly basketball, turnovers, a bazillion missed threes. I mean, a 19-12 quarter is just not what we want to see in the NBA. And with the game on the line, that's what the Knicks and Sixers delivered. Knicks up 2-0 now.
But actually, I think that's what we see because they try harder in the playoffs. So that doesn't surprise me.
Better defense, more contested shots, lower shooting percentage, all that makes sense.
And pressure.
Throw that in there as well, yes.
I mean, obviously, for Philadelphia to win the series, they've got to win one at least in Madison Square Garden. And that was 6 minutes ago, was a tie ball game. And you go 0 for 10 down the end. The Knicks didn't light it up, but they hit 3 two-pointers. And that was literally the difference.
So now it's the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Can they go up 2-0? I think we all expect them to. Second game of the Amazon Prime Video doubleheader after the Cavs and the Pistons. Detroit won game one. See if Cleveland can get game two and even this thing up.
Well, if I'm listening for interesting, that's going to be a far more interesting series, I would anticipate, and a far more interesting game. I realize that Cleveland's down 1-0, but I don't put anybody who's down 1-0 as far as being the tournament is over by any stretch. I don't view that. Or the tournament. I don't know why I said tournament, but playoff series. And so with that in mind, that I want competition. I want stuff that I don't know what's going to happen. I want the games when I watch them to find out rather than, I expect this team to win easily. That doesn't really entertain me. Unless it's my team that I'm rooting for, then we all want our team to kick crap out of whoever they're playing. I get that. But I think that the Cleveland and Detroit, in my mind, that's a toss-up.
Jaylen Brown says he hopes to remain with the franchise long-term. Despite comments from Tracy McGrady that Brown has a frustration that lies deeply within the Boston organization. My emphasis added there. Brad Stevens downplaying any perceived rift, so you think that was just frustration after getting knocked out after a weird season and it'll all be smoothed out? Or big name on the move?
If I were him, I would just look to run it back and have my trust in Stevens to make the team better. and to see which ways they do that. I mean, Boston, you're a legendary franchise. You've won a title. Doesn't seem like those types of players ask out of Boston.
That'd be unusual. I'm with you. NHL playoffs, former Mammoth Josh Doan with the opening goal, assisting on the second goal. The Sabres jump out in front 2-0 and beat Montreal 4-2 in their second-round series opener. At Anaheim and Vegas, Anaheim wins 3-1. Ducks and Golden Knights now tied at a game apiece. After 2 games in Vegas, they're going to Anaheim. So it'll be Carolina and Philly tonight on TNT, while the basketball is on Amazon with a doubleheader there. Salary cap is climbing as expected, $104 million, $8.5 million increase. Maybe that's a little more. The Mammoth, we're going to have $14 million. Now it looks like they're going to have just a little under 15, maybe 14.8, something like that. Money for Bill Armstrong to work with and see how they can improve the team and get to 100 points and go deeper in the playoffs and ratchet everything up.
Yeah, this is where management really takes over. You know, during the season, it's the team, the players, the coach. But management now, the offseason, they're the ones responsible for putting as best a product as you can put on there. And then to see what they think of these youngsters, at what level are they ready, and who needs more seasoning, so to speak, there. That's what is going to be fascinating. I mean, they've pumped up these names now, right, for the 2 years, basically, since they've been in town. And how far away are these youngsters, and when are they going to be here? And then when they get here, how good they're going to be.
We talked a lot of college football playoff this morning. Do you want a 16-team tournament? Do you want 24? It really feels like the momentum is moving against the conference title games, PK, and that the only way to get rid of them is to generate more cash. So no matter what we want, cash is king, money talks, and I suspect we're going to end up with a 24-team tournament. That seems to be what the money's pointing towards, and I assume they're going to follow the money.
But at what expense? I mean, you could make more money here, but make not as much money over there. And does that become a wash? I don't know that everything is going up automatically just simply by adding more teams, because if that's the case, then make it a 32-team tournament. At what point does it backfire on you? And the regular season in college football is something special. You got to be careful not to ruin that, not to dent that, not to make that far less. And the more you go in terms of total teams in the playoff, the more you can say, well, this regular season, who really cares? And then I've got some hot shots, and they sit out the Rose Bowl. Well, if they sat out the Rose Bowl, why wouldn't they sit out game 10, 11, or 12, knowing that there's going to be a game 13, and if you win, there's going to be a game 14 and 15. So they got to be careful on that, you know. And Yormark talked about that very thing, the unintended consequences, when he did his press conference at the Cowboys Stadium before the Cougars took on Texas Tech. And I think that's something that needs to be certainly thoroughly thought through. That's why I would like to see, I'm not against change, but you got to be careful. And it seems to me it would be more logical just to bump it up 4, go to 16 first, and see how that works, and see what it does. And can you replace the conference title Friday and Saturday with the first rounders then? How is that received? That would be my thought.
I suspect if we stay at 16, we'll still have conference title games, and they'll try to wedge it all in, because I just don't think they can replace the money adding that would that be 4 more games. I don't know that they can get that out. And that might happen. That might be the way it goes. I mean, that's what the SEC is trying to make. And I guess the way they set up these rules, for whatever rules are worth these days, they'll default to 16. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work as they stick their head together. But I think the most money, and you're right, unintended consequences, are out there. Will things go the way we think and we predict? I would have never predicted going to 12. I always thought, well, the champion is going to be somewhere in that 4-team tournament. And And it's true, Indiana was the champion, and they would have been in a 4-team tournament. But the runner-up, who gave them their best game, man, Miami was they were ranked 10th by the selection committee. They were well up the track, but they ended up providing a lot of good football.
Okay, but you can say that about – does the NBA need 16 teams?
Nope.
I mean,
they do not.
Then go,
the champion, if it were an 8-team tournament, the champion would be in it. How often does the champion come from 5, 6, 7, 8 seed? Well, like I mentioned earlier, there was a Rocket team that was a 6 seed, but that's to your point about, well, they knew they were going to be in. Would they have dropped to 6 if the format hadn't allowed it? They probably would have found a way to get themselves to 4 and get in.
Right. I just wonder how the public is going to receive the end of the season if they hold players out because, well, we're in. We only have 2 losses. We know we're in.
You got to get our running back, our quarterback, our defensive end healthy for the game, the playoff game.
Right, and your quarterback at Ohio State is banged up, and it's Michigan, and you basically give in to a sense on that game because
you're
in, and you don't have to worry about it, and you got a game either literally the next week or whatever the format holds.
Yeah.
Or they keep players out of the conference title game. The Michigan game might be maybe that'd be an uproar, but then you keep them out of the conference title game because it doesn't matter. And if you're seeded 4th or 8th or what have you, maybe it doesn't matter to you. I don't know what those circumstances would be, but I just think they got to make sure that the public doesn't reject that, and then it becomes a blowback because you got a really good thing going, and you want to make it better. You don't want to make it worse, obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the coaches all push for it because, of course, more berths, they can declare success in that. And, do people want to watch Tennessee and USC and Illinois? And I don't know, I'm probably leaving somebody else out. Who had pretty good seasons. There are 9, 10-win teams in there. That's pretty good. You're doing that in the SEC and the Big Ten. But they're not in the playoff. Now maybe at 16 they would be. At 24 they definitely would be.
Right. Oh, for sure.
How many Big 12 would get in? Not that the Big 12 is going to have a say in what this looks like. I'm pretty much going to have to sign off on it. All right, yeah, we'll do it.
But
whatever it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker. I'm going to watch probably either way. So count me in. You've hooked me in. Maybe that'll change. Who knows? When I'm 75 years old, I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say I even make 75? Because odds are I'm not going to make 75, as you know.
I don't know that. You just present that as fact. That's just your theory.
I said odds are. Once you indicate the words odds are, you are inviting that the odds that are against it actually become a fact. Hear the words and figure out the meanings as I say them. See, I purposely said odds are. I did not say I will be dead at 75. I said odds are. Get an education in the English language and what words mean. Sheesh.
I ain't doing that.
Nice. I mean, sometimes
between or among my many options.
And Yakin will appreciate this, but sometimes the stuff you say, it's just god-awful.
No, it's truly. You got to put the truly in front of it.
Okay.
Remember the quote, PK. Listen to the words I say.
I just heard the 2 preposterous words, one in particular. I thought, wow. Is this guy, is he imbibing while we're not working?
It was a trio that got me. No, I'm not. Just quoting the guest, that was stunning to me.
You're really a pain in the ass. You know that, right? I just want to be clear.
And I appreciate that compliment, by the way.
All right. You're welcome. All right, your feedback is coming up next. All the stuff you've got to say about 24 or 16-team playoffs. We'll get to that. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Feedback of the day brought to you by Half-Priced Granite. Transform your outdated kitchen with Half-Priced Granite. $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricedgranite.com. Lots of people weighing in on the playoff and what it should look like, and there is no consensus. We might as well have conference commissioners here, PK. The people are all over the map.
Yeah.
Too many. Should be 16. Derek doesn't even want to hear about 24.
No.
Way too many, Nate says. Football's great because every game matters. Not so much with 24 teams.
Yeah.
But Captain Cody says I'm fine with 24 as long as I don't drag it out until February. I think we have consensus there. January 1st is either going to get semifinals or the championship game. I suspect it'll get semis, but I think we're done with the quarters and all these games in January. They want to tighten that up.
DJ, good news.
What?
What's that?
You have talked, I don't know, for a long time about, moving college football games elsewhere in the world because you can play them and obviously have the extra game.
Yep.
You've talked about one going to Canada. That's going to happen in 2027.
Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal? Who got it?
Syracuse and Wake Forest will be playing at BMO Field in Toronto, Canada.
Yep. Just a matter of time. I think BYU would pack Vancouver if they did a game up there.
How about Vancouver, Washington? Would they pack that?
Yes, they would.
No stadium in Vancouver, Washington, PK, so that's a problem. And it's continental U.S. because that's just across the Columbia River from Portland. So made that drive. Hop, skip, and a jump.
I've eaten in Vancouver, Washington.
That a kid. David says, let's hypothesize, shall we? We're the 24, but he has we. Is WE''RE. I'm used to lose and loose, but...
Oh, that's probably a spell check thing. That does that on my phone.
All right, we'll take that as a spell check then, David.
Yeah.
Let's just go with if. I'll just if the 24 teams are in fact last season for the chance that BYU and Utah would have been in the playoff, yeah, I'm for it. It works spectacularly at the FCS level. I find no reason or downside why that same style of playoff wouldn't work at the P4 level. So 24, sign them up. Is there more parity at the P4 level? I suppose not, the way the Dakota schools win. I was going to say, I wonder if there was, because there's less differentiating in scholarships and NIL money and all that.
I get your point. I think that's a point well taken, yeah.
Yeah. And having said that, the same teams seem to be dominant
Well,
every
because
year,
some teams have advantages that others don't.
Right, not playing in the shadow
right.
of a, NAU is recruiting Arizona. Yeah, but the best kids are going to ASU and U of A and then elsewhere in Texas and California and wherever else across the country.
Right.
Whereas the Dakotas and the Montanas don't have anybody looking over their shoulder.
Right. We know that.
Yep.
Although that's all changing. That's all changing, man. In September of 26, the purple, back the purple, because they going places. I'm talking Weber State.
I like the way you think. That'll be a story. We're intrigued.
Yes. They're going to get it done.
I'm so glad they made that hire, no matter how it works out. Good, bad, middle ground, whatever. I'm glad they made that hire. It's very interesting.
Well,
you and I both think it's going to work, but there's no doubt it's interesting.
The only question, is it a regular A or an A+?
There it is. So you got them to the quarterfinals. You just don't know about the semi or the title game?
Well, I don't know about the first year. I mean, come on. Jay Hill needed a year.
Yep. Yeah.
And he did an incredible
job. I think he
job.
Didn't he have a bad year, an okay year, and then year 3 blew up and just went. Then he was off, and it was off to the races. It was just conference titles and NCAA tournament every year.
Right.
I can't remember if that was his second or third year.
I thought it was second, but I'd have to go back and check. So but Weber State, man, buy your tickets now, you folks up in Ogden.
Lute Olson quote coming. All right, DJ and PK, that's about going to do it for us here today. Reminder, wherever you get your podcasts, if you want NBA Draft Talk, if you want Spring Football Tour through Kansas, You can listen. Matt Tait covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave of the Week, and R1S1 Sports joined us at 8:30. Matt Babcock from covering the NBA and NBA draft analyst for Babcock Hoops, as you pointed out. The whole that's a family affair, right?
Yes.
Extended family working on that.
Yep.
So all about the top picks in the draft. You can check those out wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, KSLSports.com, Apple, Spotify, wherever. They're all available. The whole show is available out there. So if you missed anything, you can go back and check it out. Listen at your convenience.
We're going to hear an open mic before you send us off into Never Never Land.
What do we have?
So this came in from Nick. He goes off. You had this conversation earlier this morning about who they should send to the NBA draft lottery. Here you go.
Okay.
Why not send the Jazz Bear? Probably be bad for TV and get an interview, but let's send the Jazz Bear. Has anybody ever sent a mascot?
More mascots.
I don't know if anybody has sent
Be kind of fun.
A mascot.
He could shoot his little pyrotechnic stuff at different people and.
Yeah.
Oh, win or lose.
Yeah. Bam.
The question is, if you win, you shoot it up into the ceiling and it all drops
Otherwise,
down.
you're shooting it at.
If you lose, you just shoot it right at the commissioner.
Yeah.
He did a silly string and just spray random
if
people.
they're drafting
Silly
sixth or
string for
something.
the commissioner. I like it.
Hey, Silver, here you go.
Boom.
They could do that. The NBA could do, because football's done that thing with Nickelodeon, and they put all the graphics and the bizarro stuff when teams score or turn the ball over or whatever. NBA could do that 1 year with the draft lottery. Just every team represented by a mascot. It could be total chaos.
It'd be fun.
All right. We're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up at 2. That was an old habit right there. Scotty G and Tim Lacombe, the coach, on the way next right here on The Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.